What up, everybody? You're now tuned into the true definition of a sports fanatic. I'm your host, Brandon Lampley, back today with another live stream. Shout out to all my audio listeners as well. We've been posting these on audio too, so shout out to them. Man, another day back talking with the brothers in the barbershop, man. We had to get in another one this week, man. How you feeling today, Mr. Reid?
I'm feeling like I just went to the barber shop and they took too much off my head. I'm feeling good.
Feeling good,
They took
feeling
too much
good,
off
man.
the top,
Feeling good.
man. I think that's what they did. They took too much off the top and it's not
Yeah.
coming back.
Not coming back, not coming back. So to start out the show, even though this is my sports show, me and you haven't I only had a chance to talk about it, off camera. So we'll get into that. Then we'll get into the rest of the sports show. Everybody's been talking about it, so we'll give a little bit on it. But just your thoughts on the Will Smith, incident at the Oscars. However much you want to talk about it. And I didn't agree with it at all. I felt like Will basically put his finances, his endeavors, and all that in jeopardy for a corny joke, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it don't make any sense. And this is my thoughts about it. I mean, we don't need to have fodder. I mean, let's just say the word fodder.
Mm-hmm.
Fodder means that we just create stuff for folks to talk about. And when we got two brothers, one brother's supposed to have been on the stage, the second brother wasn't supposed to come on the
What up,
stage,
Josh?
get a award, and just we don't need fodder. We don't need conversations like, oh, okay, but you know what people gonna say? Oh yeah, man, look at these. And I just thought it was uncalled for, man. You could have handled this after the show. I mean, yeah, he did. If you're gonna kind of phrase it of he disrespected your wife. Okay, I
Yeah.
understand that, but he's a comedian and he does
Yes.
that for a living. And there's no harm, no foul. Hey man, I've been to comedy shows, and one of the things that I don't do, I don't sit in the front row.
Don't, don't, don't.
But if I did, I'm not gonna go up to the stage and punch a guy. The guy
Right.
might say, "But man, your glass is real thick," or so. I'm gonna say, "Okay, brother." Or I might go get me some wings and go sit in the back. But I'm not gonna go walk up on the stage, punch a guy, and just make more shovel for us black men. That's the
Mm-hmm.
least thing that we have to do on. I don't know what the audience numbers was for national television for something like that.
15 million.
15 million, and I just thought it was an embarrassment. I mean, some folks gonna say, yeah, he defended his wife and all that. I just
Not
say
like that.
there's a place, there's a time that you handle situations. And I always say on your show, us being black males and we adults, we'll just say adults 3 times. Adults, adults, adults. We have to act like we adults. We don't set we don't set an example worse than what the kids do. Okay,
Yeah.
so we are example setters, not gossip setters. And I just think, man, when you look at a guy, when you his age and you that successful, you know, I'm sure he got cheers from his wife, but
Yeah. She laughed. They showed her reaction. She laughed at the slap.
we ain't in the elementary school no more where the bully get all the pats on the back, and we don't live in a world where bullies. I went to elementary school with a bully and he dead now. So
Mm-hmm.
bully ball don't get you anywhere. You don't have to be the guy in the building no more. Okay, that don't mean nothing.
Yes.
With a guy of his stature and obviously, I always believe, man, you got to be an example setter. You always have to be the role model. You can never put yourself in a situation where you are an embarrassment and not that role model. And that's what
Yeah.
I thought that whole night was. Will embarrassed himself, man.
Yeah.
We're not in boxing. We're not in the whatever that new boxing out there. We're not into that, man. We into being, you want to always portray a positive image, And if there's a problem, it can always be rectified and clarified and resolved behind closed doors. There's no way in the world this man should have walked up on the stage with all the cameras, slap a man in his face, walk
Mm-hmm.
back with a grin, and then sit in his seat and say, "Keep your whatever out of my mouth about my wife."
Yeah.
I mean, we done been portrayed as this and angry men and all these different things,
What up, Cha Cha?
and we don't need to continue all of that, man. We,
Yeah.
what's and I really feel strongly about this, man. A lot of us don't care what the other side say, and I don't really either. I
Yeah.
don't care how they portray me, how they think of me. If
Yeah.
I'm gonna get upset, I'm gonna get upset, and I'm not gonna think about, well, I got to act a certain way. But I've always put myself in a position to think about what's right for the young people. I don't want a young person to feel it's right to cuss out anybody or walk up on the stage and punch somebody out.
Yeah.
It's not right. And if you are not in his stature and you do that, then you could kill your career just like that. You
Yeah.
know, And if it's not Will, who, I mean, the man that made money, movies, and all that, but I just don't like that look that you resolve your differences by throwing a punch or slapping a guy in the face that happen to be who look like us. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's my biggest thing, man. We gotta be always looking on the long term of things, not just
Yeah.
short term things, man. We got to look at how we being betrayed, how we talked about, how things impact the younger people. And I just didn't think he thought of any of that. He just, I don't know what Will was thinking, but that's not the right way to handle things.
Right. And I've seen, I don't know how big the sector is, but the fact that any people agrees with what he did, I mean, this is a shameful, disgraceful act.
Mhm.
And it puts a stain on Will's career.
Yeah.
But black men in particular need to pay attention to this situation. Pay attention to the fact that Will Smith slapped a black man and seemingly nobody did anything except calm him down. They barely asked Chris how he was doing. I seen Denzel go to him and they comforted Chris after the incident. But I give props to Chris Rock for staying stoic in the moment because that look could have been a lot worse had Chris decided to come cross with that right hand because he had it balled up. He had it balled up. Yeah, he had it balled up. And then you'd have had two prominent black men rolling around on stage at the Oscars for 15 million people to see. That would have been even worse. So
And
props
that
to Chris
exactly. And they
Rock.
also said there was a situation when they was in a commercial break that Denzel stood up because man, the way it was written that he was walking off the stage toward Will, and then like Denzel kind of stood up, and then Chris didn't. He just stopped in his tracks. But you're right, man. We don't
Yeah.
we don't need to see. I mean, we done been to be honest. We done been through hell and back from George Floyd to a guy go sleep in his car at a Wendy's
Oh
to
yeah.
getting shot and killed on TV. And I don't forget about those things, man. I know we you don't live in the past, but I just think that, man, we don't need any more negativity. That,
No.
and I hate to say negativity, but we don't need any more where that other side got something to talk about that that they'll be talking about for the next 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
we make mistakes, to be real about it, when we make mistakes, it don't go away.
No, I like what Jim Carrey said. Jim Carrey said, this morning I would have been announcing me suing Will for $200 million because that video is ubiquitous. It's going to be there forever. That embarrassment is going to be there for a very, very long time. And this is the other side. So Cha say publicity stunt. It was all for a come up. Chris Rock tour sold out ever since that happened. I was on that bandwagon. I was on the always fake. Oh, the whole. Some people say it was a ritual, whatever, for the Illuminati, the Freemasons, whatever. They all the conspiracy theories. But okay, publicity stunt, and it was all for a come up. But where does Will come up in this? That's where I bite back. Where does Will come up? Yeah, Chris Rock tour sold out because people said it. They bought tickets because they wanted to hear him talk about it. A lot of people were disappointed he didn't go in like he thought he was that like they thought he was going to go in. He's gonna wait for that. He's a very smart man, and he's going to monetize his pain. So he's going to wait, and he's going to drop something that's going to get eyes and do it in his time. Now his brother, on the other hand, is not Chris Rock. Tony Rock was vicious in his because he just did a stand up the other night and he was like, yo, you come up on this stage, the only thing you nominated for is these hands because this ain't the Oscars. He talking about you gonna slap my brother because he said because yo B side-eyed you and then you gonna slap my brother. He said it's 10 Rock brothers, it's 10 of us. He say, hey, it's on site. I said, man. And he said, I don't have a lot to lose. He said, I'm gonna be on this tour I'm on right now, regardless. You might not see me on TV no more, but I don't have nothing to lose. And dude, that's how I expect brothers to be.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I'm talking about, man. It's like I think we have to respect each other.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing of all, man. A lot of us, sometimes I think a lot of us who are successful kind of overdo career. I mean, I got friends who, the job don't make you. Your job is just what you do. But when it comes to respect, and I respect every black man because
Yeah.
nobody knows what we go through. You
Yeah.
know, we probably the strongest people in the world. And I done been in jobs. I mean, you can have 17 degrees and you don't have to have no degrees. And there's many times that all of us gonna get disrespected on the job and we walk away from it.
Yeah.
To be real about it.
Yeah.
But when we got opportunities, man, and when, like you said, 15 million people, we don't need to be in front of 15 million people with a guy walking up on the stage slapping another one of us. I mean, we don't handle our business like that. We done had I done lived my whole life. That's all old black on black crime and all that. You can't argue against it.
Yeah.
You
No,
I
you
mean
can't.
you can't say it's wrong. So we got enough black eyes. We don't need
Yeah.
extra black eyes created by our own selves, okay? And
No.
that's my point, man. I think, and I'm not saying that we gotta act in a way to validate ourselves for the other race either, but I just don't think that, I just think that could have been handled better. And like we said earlier, it's not going to go away. That video will be around the next 20, 30 years. And will, hopefully Will won't be remembered just by that, but it's going to be up there. I mean, that's the guy that walked on stage and slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel for Chris, just like I feel for Will too, because let's be honest, his outburst was not about an alopecia joke. It was not about joking about his wife. It was not about any of those things, man. Whatever it is, there's something deeper going on with Will because he's not even like that. He's always been an even tempered guy. And just that flash of emotion to make a decision where you took a lifetime to build up said reputation and the moment's notice you fly off the handle and make an emotional decision. Something else is going on. I told my mother, I said, this is a cry for help from Will. It is. He's been actually asking for help for a minute now, if you're being honest, with his book and stuff like that. And it's a cry for help because for the last 3 to 4 years, remember now, we didn't know much about Will Smith until that Red Table Talk started. And this is where a lot of that came from, man. And I don't want to blame Jada, because Will made the decision he made. But let's be honest, it was influenced by her.
Oh,
And one of my buddies, I just showed my buddy, he said, I cannot believe she watched him walk into oncoming traffic and did nothing about it. He said, your woman is not supposed to do that. Hey, if your wife right now, y'all somewhere, it get heated, God disrespect you, and you ready to pop off. I'm pretty sure your wife is like, hey, we can't do that. You got other stuff. You got endeavors. You got an image to uphold. You cannot do this. Let it go.
You're never gonna help your family if you embarrass your family. But another thing, I know this is a sports show, but man, sometimes, man, love is a man. I don't want to say a cuss word, but
Yeah,
love can be a monster. Sometimes love is you can be in love and the other person don't is not in the same degree of love that you are in, and that's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard when you done
yeah,
gave everything you got and you done lived this long, this you can be married for 20 years. That don't mean that it's 100% on both sides of the marriage, benefits. Will is a guy, he's successful, man, but I'm not gonna say what her intentions are, but
mm,
love can be hurtful,
yeah.
love can be advantage. Love can be 80. I think it was the 80-40 rule or whatever that rule is, but
Oh
man, it's
yeah, 80-20 rule. Yeah,
80-20 rule. But
yeah,
sometimes, man, you stick to things that's not really right, but
yeah,
you stick to it because of love, and you
yeah.
don't get the same response back.
Oh yeah,
And that's that, man. Look here. It may not just be, it ain't just Will. It ain't just 2022, man. It's been going on for centuries.
long time,
You know,
long
the,
time.
can nobody figure it out? Can sometimes you can be with sometimes you know sometimes love have a way of getting you back. Sometimes you could be the person who don't show nothing.
Yeah,
Might be a girlfriend. Might be when you was 19 years old and you just, I mean, this girl was crazy about you, do anything for you, and you just treated her like almost better than taking out your trash.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
then you find somebody and man, you doing everything. You
yeah.
you
You head
doing
over here.
everything in the book that you ain't never done before, and you don't receive what you're given.
Man, you just described that to a T, man, because that's what it sounds like from the first marriage to his marriage to Jada. That exactly what you described. That's what it sounds like. And if you want to hear more of my more let's see unedited thoughts on this, check out my last video, Stoicism and the Emasculation of Will Smith. Me and Sean Taylor went in on that. So, but we're going to leave it right there. It's been talked about. People talked about it, but it's good to get our perspective out there and your perspective, Mr. Reid. And I agree with what you said. As a black man, especially just day to day when I'm out and about, and I see other black men who acknowledge me, I always acknowledge them. Even
No,
if, especially even if I don't know them, they see me, we lock eyes, and they give me the head nod or they say, "What's up?" I make sure I speak back to them, because you never know what that man is going through, what burden he's carrying, who he's caring for. You don't know. The image is we're painted as thugs, convicts, bums, don't do nothing. No, it's a lot of hardworking men out there providing for a lot of people, and they have nobody but themselves to turn to because a lot of people have their hand out. So hey, I have to make sure I keep it up when I see them.
you got to keep it real. That's part of this show, man. You got to keep it real, and I appreciate everybody, man. I don't judge people by I don't judge people by what their jobs are or any of that,
Yeah,
because whatever rug you stepping on, that rug can be taken away from your feet at any moment. And
yeah,
I just think we live in a society, and we ain't the cause of this, man. When you go back to slavery days and all the things that went back in that time, man, it was a system created that they wanted us to be at odds with each other.
yeah,
And that done percolated over the years. And just, I just think you got to bond a little bit more. You got to appreciate somebody. I had a brother call me the other day, man. He said, if you can do anything for me to get this job. And I said, man, I'm going to send him an email and I'm going to write him. and whatever I can do, I'm gonna do it,
Yeah,
and I would do it for anybody. And I'm not asking for somebody to do the same for me, but
yeah.
I mean, we got to understand how important networking is because that's what the other side does. They network.
Yes, yes, they do. That's why I shoot like for you, Sean, and these people who've been helping me with this platform these last 3 years, helped me get me going. Either they came on the show with me or they've been mentors to me. Those men and women can ask me just about for anything, and then need me to do something for them. I'm going to do it. Because when I had absolutely nothing, no prospects or anything, nobody knew who Brandon Lampley was, nobody wanted to talk to me, nobody wanted to watch me. These people helped me, so I always be help them.
And that's right, brother. I mean, I saw you churning it out. I looked at you. I said,
Hmm.
man, this dude. But when you're good, you're good.
Yeah,
And when I think the success of anything is how much work you put into something to get better. You know,
yeah,
a lot of it is individualized, but we live in a society where you gotta have this. This person got to say this, and that had nothing to do with will, but
yeah,
I just think that we live in a society right now, man, that all us, whether it's black women, black men, we got to, things are so tough now. You go buy gas, it's $4.15. The world is not getting any easier, and I think we got is each other. And when we got stuff like that on television, where a black man go up on the stage and slap another black man, I don't condone that, man. I mean,
no,
I
no,
don't condone that at all. And
no.
then don't apologize until what, like 3 days later on online.
Oh yeah, Steve Harvey killed him. He said in his acceptance speech that was raggedy because you apologized to everybody but Chris.
Yeah, that was real raggedy.
Hmm.
That's almost bad as the slap, to be honest.
Yes, it's even more disrespect. You know, yeah. So, but we're gonna leave it right there and move on to our next one. Gonna get into. Oh, I got to recognize his birthday was yesterday. One of the greatest football players I've ever seen play. One of my favorites of all time. If he was still alive today, he finished up. He would have been finished up a Hall of Fame career, and that's I think it's Sean Michael Maurice Taylor. Sean Taylor, one of the greatest DBs I've ever seen in my life. Other great DBs marveled at Sean Taylor's prowess. 6'2", almost 6'3", 230 pounds, runs like a corner, hits like a linebacker, ball skills, instincts, smarts, every tool in the tool bag you can name. Sean Taylor was a great one.
You know what, Brandon, man, I say this, man. When he was playing, I knew about him in Miami. I knew I used to listen to some of the negative stuff that they used to say about him.
Hmm.
Man, when I watched that NFL on the NFL Network, when they go back and relive the career and the life of the player, and
Yeah.
I probably done watched out of all of those past great players, I probably done watched his probably about 4 or 5 times, and it moves me every time I see that show, man, because number one, nobody really understood him,
Yeah.
and just to hear the stories, man, that this guy would be on the practice field like almost sometimes 3 hours before practice, and he
Hmm.
would run like lap when you add up all what he did before the practice, it'd be like 4 miles. And when he was young, he would like his dad pushed him, drove him, pushed him, everything.
Yeah.
And this guy used to run the streets. I mean, it's like, good Lord, where did he get this fire from to be the best? And it's just like, man. And then I heard like when he got shot and that bullet went through his leg and it just hit that vessel. And
Hmm.
I think it was his brother who said, man, there's nobody on earth that I know fought harder to live than Sean Taylor.
Yeah.
And when I done saw that show about 4 times, man, and man, I appreciate what that guy did. I understand, it's so much about him that's beyond what his talent was for Washington. You know,
Yeah,
he's the guy who loved Miami. If the Redskins, if Washington played in Tampa, this guy would literally go to Miami to be at home. He just felt peace at home, and
at
a lot of
home.
people didn't understand that. You know, he'd never
Yeah,
been anywhere outside of Miami before he went up there to play with Washington.
yeah,
And man, it just man that show about him just really moves me, I mean, we're talking about just stupidness with the will thing, but it was also stupidness how this man life ended
yes.
all for stupidness. You know, some kid
Stupidness.
living in Fort Myers come to the sister's party, and
See him giving out bags of money to his family,
yeah,
and they set it up to where they came back to rob him. And they supposedly thought he wasn't home. They
yeah,
didn't know he was gonna be home because they think he on the road, he an NFL player, but he was hurt. That's why he was home. He wasn't
mm,
traveling with the team, and he just happened to be home. And if he had a gun that day, he'd be alive today. All he had was a machete. But
yeah,
if he had a gun, they say he would have been alive today. But man, some of the stories about him, especially in high school. So it was a guy who won, I think, Player of the Year, like Mr. Florida over him, and so
yeah,
they played him in the state
yeah,
title game.
yeah,
And in that state title game, Sean made sure every time that guy touched the ball, he put it on him. I mean, he hit him. The dude ain't even catch the ball. Ball went over the dude's head. Sean knocked him out.
yeah,
He hit him every time the guy was around the ball. Sean hit him just to let you know, like, yo, y'all picked the wrong person.
yeah.
Yeah, and
I
his
don't
work
think
ethic.
anybody I saw no doctor love football more than that guy, man. And I
Yeah,
can't even imagine thinking about anybody that I ever saw from the Jaguars or even basketball would go out before practice 3 hours and put forth a workout worse than what he worst his workout, personal workout, just to get ready for practice was almost double from what the practice was gonna be.
yeah. Similar to they say Michael Irvin. They say Michael Irvin. They have the back in the day the fitness test where you got to run those gassers. So let's say you had to run 10 or 15 of them. They say Mike would run 15 before he had to do the actual test just to show him,
Yeah,
and then he'd run the 15 he's supposed to run. And that's the same with Sean. I think let's see. Hold, let me get Josh. He said nobody has hit someone in the Pro Bowl since Sean Taylor did. R.I.P. Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, ever since Sean hit Brian Moorman, the punter from the Bills, it's been two-hand touch ever since.
yeah,
Yeah. But Sean's work ethic, man. I think it was Louis Riddick. He was at the front with the front office of the was Redskins at the time, the Commanders now.
mhm,
He said, he's on the treadmill looking out over the stadium and it's foggy. And he said he just see this figure in the fog back and forth, up and down the field. It's Saturday now. It's a game Sunday.
yeah.
It's Sean Taylor, 7 o'clock in the morning in the fog, running the field up and down. He said he did it about 30 times.
Man, those guys said they have never in their life, and this from coaches, from Doug Williams to anybody
Yeah,
associated with that franchise, they ain't never seen a guy work as hard as this guy. And just like in that hospital, his brother said they ain't never seen anybody in his life fought as hard as they could to live more than he did. To be
yeah,
there for his daughter and his girlfriend. And this
yeah,
Uh, I mean, I feel this guy is everything to be a Hall of Famer in my opinion. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he was. Let's see. He said, "Have you heard anything about Richard Collier lately?" No, I haven't heard anything about Richard Collier, former Jaguar. No, I haven't heard anything about him. No news. But Sean, like that work ethic. They say what the one thing his dad instilled. His dad instilled that in him. He say
yeah,
so they'll go somewhere and they'll get like some ices or something, and he'll get the ices. And he said his dad to get in the car. And he said, "All right, if you want these ices, y'all got to run home to when to get an icy." And dude, they miles away from home, and his dad will drive off, and they'll run home to get them ices. And that's how it started.
yeah. His daddy, man, man, those workouts are legendary. I mean, this guy get
Yeah.
up 5. I think those workouts like 5 in the morning, and the dad would be in the car, and he'd jog like, man, 4, 5 miles in the morning before school.
Hmm.
And I think they even asked him like, well, when is all this started? And he went back and said, I think I was like 8 years old, 7 years old, like when he was playing like Pop Warner football.
Hmm.
It's like,
Yeah, shoot, his girlfriend, she was playing volleyball,
yeah,
and they had the curfew. So at a certain time, he couldn't hang with her or be with her. She had to make curfew, and so they asked. She said, "Well, find out if you can get up really early in the morning." So she found out, and they were like, "Oh yeah, as long as you in by this time, but you can get up this early to whatever." So they be meeting 5 in the morning just to hang out for a little bit, and he would go back to DC, back to the facility to get ready for practice or whatever for that day. So Sean cared deeply about his family. His whole thing, all he talked about usually was his family. I don't think I've heard him talk about anything really outside of his family. Wanting to do stuff for his mothers and his sisters, his girlfriend and his daughter.
and that's why I just hate. And one thing about the media, I just I have a lot of respect for. I can't even think of his name, but he was with the Washington Post, and you know, when he first got shot, there was a lot of speculation. Oh yeah, about his character
Yeah,
and
yeah. Cowherd was terrible.
and
Mike Wilbon was terrible too. Both of them
he's
were awful.
he's the one, Mike Wilbon.
Mike
He was
Wilbon.
probably the main worst out of all of them.
Yeah, he was bad.
That he portrayed him as being a thug, and this
Yes.
one and I think he actually went on that show and say, well, that type of behavior. This is what happened to the thugs or something like that in
Hmm.
that regard.
Yeah.
And you can't, this business could be so cutthroat, and that's why a lot of guys shield themselves away from the media because there's a lot of narration and portrayals that you have no idea what his background is, and the
Hmm.
only thing you basing it on his hair, his demeanor,
Hmm.
jewelry, or tattoos, and you
Yeah.
don't know why is he quiet or why because he's never been a guy when he played that was he was never a media person.
No.
He was a private person, and to see, to hear those portrayals, man, because it's like, they were speculating this and speculating that, and and when you look back and you really understand where he came from, what he went through,
Yeah.
and the things that he wanted to be at home. I mean, when he got shot, I mean, he was at home because he wanted to be there with his family.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Chris Cooley said it. He said, man, he said Sean would beat the crap out of guys in practice. He
oh
said, and I was just so thankful that he never did that to me. Yeah, for sure, man. But man, rest in peace to Sean Taylor, man. One of the greatest, one of my favorites, man. Sad story, but hey, it is what it is, man. Let's see, officer. Oh, hello, somebody up from Twitch.
all right.
But yeah, man. So, but yeah, let's move on to the next topic. And rest in peace to Sean Taylor, man. I
Yeah,
just
rest in peace, man. I
rest
hope
in
for
peace.
one day that he be in the Hall. I like to see him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Though his career was shortened, but I mean, we're gonna be talking about Sean Taylor for the next 20, 30 years, man.
yeah, yeah. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Let's see. So, man, we're gonna get into this Jim Irsay. So Jim Irsay, for those who don't know Jim Irsay is the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, and he made the news recently, and he called the Carson Wentz era a mistake. He said, "For us, it was something we had to move away from as a franchise." And the reason I want to highlight this is because of the comments he made about Jacksonville, which was absolutely hilarious. He said Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay was irate after the season ended with his team missing the playoffs. Those bitter feelings still linger, and it's clear from Irsay's comments a change from quarterback Carson Wentz had to
Let's
be
look
made.
over at the Indianapolis Colts, their
Oh,
quarterback situation,
let
handled
me
out very publicly. My
let me pause that. But say, speaking Tuesday from the NFL's annual league meeting in Palm Beach, Florida, Irsay talked in length about the reasons behind trading the QB after one season. I think the worst thing you can do is have a mistake and try to keep living with it going forward. For us, it was something we had to move away from as a franchise. It was very obvious. We talk about that all the time, Mr. Reid. Identify the mistake and please move on. Don't let it linger.
Oh, no
Uh,
question.
Yeah. See, Irsay noted the season finale loss to the 3-win Jaguars as the last straw. The 26 and 11 to 11 defeat that kept the Colts out of the playoffs was a sad affair that wasn't even close as the final score. No, it wasn't. He said, no disrespect to Jacksonville, but I mean, they're the worst team in the league. You play well and hard for the first quarter or so, and they're looking to go to the locker room and clean it out. I've never seen anything like that in my life. You say, my God, there's something wrong here. It needs to be corrected. I think that we feel like we did. So it's clear that Irsay blamed Wentz for the team inability to rise to the occasion. He said, your guys got to pick you up and carry you through Jacksonville. Irsay said he has to do it, not an option, has to, no excuses, no explanations. And let's see, was it one more? Okay. Yeah, that was it about Jacksonville. You know, he goes on to talk more about Carson. He said, you search for the right chemistry with any team. And football is as important as any sport that there is. If the chemistry is off, if it isn't there, it can be extremely detrimental, lower performance to a degree that is stunning and shocking. So you can go check that full article out there. That's on NFL.com of Jim Irsay. But I want to focus on what he said about Jacksonville, which is absolutely hilarious because, dude, I'm giving props. This is the props I give Mr. Reid. You identified the mistake and you moved on. That's the best thing you could have done in this situation and not let it linger. That's the difference between a franchise that is, a perennial playoff franchise and a franchise that's not. A franchise that's not good. Identifying the mistakes and moving on. And they identified it very much quicker than I thought they would. But for him, he put that all on the squarely on the shoulders of Carson Wentz. He's like, dude, listen, you got a 2-win team in front of you, and the playoffs is right behind them. And you can't beat the Jaguars, dude. You gotta go. You gotta go. And I'm gonna kick you on the way out. I'm gonna kick you on the way out.
Yeah, that sounds like Mr. Irsay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, man. You know, when you all you need to do is win a game to find the season finale.
Yeah.
Team, as you said, with two wins, and the season has been an absolute disaster. And you don't come into the stadium with no urgency. The man, to be honest, they talked about that you can't take these guys lightly. I
Yeah.
mean, he gave them every type of message that was correct. And then you got this guy at quarterback who just he was ab-libbing. He wasn't quarterbacking. He was just making simple plays in the complicated plays. And he was running before he had to run, and he just looked like,
Yeah.
man, it
He
looked
saw
like,
ghosts.
yeah, he saw ghosts. And I mean, sometimes I was sitting up there in the press box. I said, man, I hope ain't nobody done got to him from Las Vegas, because he looked like he was throwing the game. he
Oh
was that,
man.
he was that bad.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse for it. I mean, the one thing I always say about this league is that it's performance based. It's they're
It
gonna
is.
judge you based on your effort and your performance, and that's the one thing I can say. I mean, in reality, it's a good thing, because you're going to get the best effort, because believe me, in the NBA, I think sometimes that guaranteed contract, especially this time where you got teams out of the playoffs and they're just playing for Cabo and vacation. But in this NFL, man, they could cut you at any moment. It's
Any moment.
they don't
Yeah.
care if
Not
you
for
not
long.
if you not what they want as a fit, or you like Carson Wentz in this game. Every all the marbles on the line. You going. I think what they were. I want to recall. I think there was a 7. They might have was. I believe they were a 17-point favorite in that game. 14
Wow.
or 17. I think it was 17-point favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And when you need one win to get in the playoffs, and it's on your shoulders, you the quarterback, you the guy, and you play absolutely the worst out of all the 22 starters, yeah, you deserve to get that criticism, and I mean, and believe me, I'm no Irsay fan, but man,
Yeah.
this guy was absolutely horrible, and I just think that man, I know he's in Washington now. I just don't think that. I don't think it worked. I mean, he may be a good backup, but I just don't see him being an effective starting quarterback. To me, he's almost he's almost like a Blake Bortles in a way. You never
Yeah.
know you never know what you're gonna get. And it's just erratic when you don't have to be erratic. You know that Jacksonville can be beaten in a whole different lot of ways last year. You don't run into the rush. I saw plays where he made in that game where the rush was coming on the outside and he actually went toward the rush.
I've seen it.
I'm,
I've seen it.
I'm
He
saying,
didn't play well in either game. He
no,
didn't play well in Indianapolis.
no, he didn't. And it's like you got one of the best running backs in the league, and I blame some of this on the coach. Get the ball in the hands of the running back to slow the game down, control the clock.
Yes.
Don't put it in Carson Wentz's hands. For the life of me, I don't know why. I don't know why they did that. I think you can't put the game in his hands. When he's got to throw, he's got to throw. But you got him stepping back, throwing too many times when he's not doing anything but losing yardage.
Yeah. I don't want him throwing 40 to 50 times a game. That's not a
Taking
recipe for
sacks.
success.
Who in the world takes sacks on third and whatever? And it's
Yeah.
just like, man, I said, this guy, I said the same thing in his last year in Philly.
Yeah.
That his this he's not the guy. He's not the guy that everybody thought. I mean he makes and it's not. I'm not knocking his talent. He's got a rifle arm. He's a big kid.
He's mobile. He's got it
Mobile,
all.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you can't strong arm throws when your receiver is triple covered.
Mm-hmm.
Don't throw to him.
Yeah. And
If
stop
Jamison
making stupid decisions by like flipping the ball and I'm like, dude, come on.
flip passes, intercepted, fumble, got the ball knocked out of his hand. I say, Lord have mercy, man. So I understand the Colts. I understand that. What I don't understand about the Colts is this though, man. You can't just go by the name of the quarterback. For the life of me, I don't understand like why. Once Luck left, it's like, man, it's been like they've been on a game show and they just picking a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, tried to force it to Michael Pittman too much. Yeah, Michael Pittman is a great player, but that's all they did, trying to force the ball to him. Dude, you got tight ends. You have an incredible back. You got a basically a receiver playing running back and Naeem Hines. You had all kind of weapons all over the field, and Carson Wentz just made questionable decision after questionable decision.
What's worse probably of all, and they're not going to say it publicly. Whatever the design play was, I don't think he ran it. And I thought the same thing in Philly. I think he does too much ab-libbing. I don't think he run the play call. I
Yeah,
think he try to make the big play so much that he calls his own number. And, instead of making the big play, he just, it's like, what in the world are you doing? We just call X 24-6 and you call something that's not even in the playbook. And
right.
I think that's his biggest problem. you can watch a conversation on the sideline, and then you can look at the coach like, "What in the hell was that?"
Yeah.
And I think that's his issue. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't stick to the confines of the playbook. He ad libs.
Right. He's supposed to be running Spider Wild Banana, and he running Ant Z Apple or something like that. Like, dude, that is not the play you're supposed to be running.
Completely on
What
the
are you doing?
opposite side. No, nothing similar to the play that they call. Is not even the play that they call on the side of the field that they want the play to be designed on. And I don't know, man. I'm saying that, boy. I hope Washington know what they're getting because
I hope so. I hope so. Let me get this comment. Let's see. I'm guessing it's Alfisa 23 Twitch watcher. Appreciate you for tuning in. Say, to be honest, I have no idea about NFL, Sean Taylor, and Bruce Arians because I'm Polish, so I don't understand. I know basketball. My favorite baller is John Morant. That's a good favorite baller to have. John Morant is very good.
my favorite too, man.
Yeah, that dude is special, man. That he's special. But Pat, dude, Josh Stewart just wants to make me sad. Like I'm convinced, Josh Stewart, that you just want to make me sad. He just shared an article, and I'm about to let me share this article real quick, man. Oh my goodness, Steelers Pat Fryer move. Happy he didn't go to the Jaguars. If we haven't suffered enough, come on, Pat. Pat ain't have to don't have to pile on us. Come on, Pat. Say with the 2022 draft less than a month away, Steelers tight end Pat Fryer really recently had a chance to reflect on last year's draft when Pittsburgh selected him in the second round, number 55 overall out of Penn State. In an interview with Adam Brenneman for the Brenneman Shows Up podcast, Fryer says he expected to go number 45 overall to the Jaguars. You got to be kidding me. The Jaguars called Fryer to say they'd be drafting him. He said, I really thought I was going to Jacksonville. Coach Tyler Bowen, his old coach, referring to then tight ends coach for the Jaguars, they called me and they were like, hey, we're going to draft you at this spot, except the anticipated draft call never came as the Jags chose offensive tackle Walker Little out of Stanford. And then I thought I was going to end up at Tennessee at number 53, and they didn't call. He said added Fryer without noting that the Titans passed on him to take offensive tackle Dylan Radins out of North Dakota State. But things worked out swimmingly for Fryer. Yeah, it did. Because shortly after the Titans made their selection, his phone buzz called from Pittsburgh. Head coach Mike Tom was on the live. He said, I love being part of Steelers organization. Never mind that he almost instantly felt at home in Pittsburgh, being just 2.5 hours down the road from Penn State. Let's see. I mean, I don't even want to go into the rest of this, but yeah, he's talking about the Steelers. He said, as far as how my things might have gone, Fryer said, I'm happy I didn't go there. And who can blame him for this though? I can't get mad at him for this. I can't. He saw that tire fire in Pittsburgh. He saw it. He saw what was going on here, and he wanted no part of that. None of them wanted any parts of this. But the fact that they called him and took Walker Little, man, that you already know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it just shows how dysfunctional. Even it was dysfunctional even back in April of last year at the same time. That just shows you how dysfunctional Urban Meyer and this team was. I mean, you don't go tell a guy, call him up personally and say we're gonna take you. And then, I know things happen, but usually you do get the follow-up call and say we went with this and we wish you luck. But it goes back to those guys that not know what the hell they were doing.
Yeah.
He drafted the tight end he drafted was a guy basically Luke Farrell, who basically he said that he has a good family. I recruited him at Ohio State, but he's not a pass catcher, and those are the things that happen. This is why this team went 3-14, just based on. And this is April. This not
Yeah.
not the season. This is decisions are being made at the spur of the moment. Decisions are being changed after they've been discussed for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a perfect example of what happened on draft night happened during the season. This is what those coaches were saying. Like, okay, we leave the office, and it's Wednesday, and we all come to a conclusion that this is the best fit, or this is the best decision that we need to make. And then when the hour comes 2 days later and it's decision time, the man in charge changes his mind. And hey, that's confirmative from sources that's what he's talking about happened throughout the whole season. That they would have these meetings, and it would be everything agreed upon, including the game plan. And then
Mm-hmm.
3 hours before the game, we don't want to do this. We're gonna change this. I don't like this. I don't. And it's like, man,
Look what Josh Stewart just said. And I said this to Josh Stewart when I heard him announce it. Urban also said they preferred drafting Kadarius Toney to Travis Etienne.
he said
I've
it.
never heard a coach or GM do that publicly.
Yeah, he said it on draft night. He said it after he drafted Travis Etienne.
How Travis supposed to feel after
He
that?
said that on the same night they drafted him. He went to the podium about 20 minutes after they drafted Travis, and that's what he said. But we done had these discussions before.
Yeah,
The guy did not know anything about being an NFL head coach. That's the bottom line. There's nothing else to say. He did
yeah,
not know anything about being an NFL head coach. He was given too much power. He didn't have to
yeah,
answer to anybody. And he didn't care if he made mistakes. He didn't care if he made stupid statements like that. Yeah, you just drafted the guy, and then you're talking about what you wish you would have had. I mean, who does that?
yeah. Who? Who? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Who does that, man? But this just goes back to shows that the incompetence, absolute incompetence from the top
Yeah.
on down.
And he
That's
said it. We were in the media room like, what did he just say? And then he added that I'm gonna play him. We don't see him as a running back. We see Travis as a wide receiver or a playmaking guy. And I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, didn't he have like the ACC record in touchdowns and yardage? So why would you?
right.
I don't like NFL. I'll say this on the record. I don't like NFL coaches or NBA coaches for that matter, who you draft a guy and then you gonna paint him a brush that he's never done in college that track you to draft him, and you're gonna change him.
Yeah,
My biggest problem I ever had with Monty Williams, and he learned that lesson. But you can't change players. You might see them in certain ways, but if they don't fit what you want and they're playing the style that you've drafted them by, then allow those guys to go somewhere else because you can't change. That's almost like, okay, I'm gonna change the way you shoot. Well, it's
yeah,
too late. you might be a hell of a coach, but you're not gonna. I mean, you can't change the guy from Jacksonville that went to man, he played at University of Florida.
mm-hmm.
Monty tried to change his whole style of play.
Oh, Patrick Young.
Patrick Young should
Yeah,
have made the team.
yeah,
But he want him to be like a scoring threat in the post, grab 14 rebounds and score, and want him to shoot from the outside. I'm looking. I had to go back and see. Well, let me see what he did at University of Florida, and the guy never. That's not his style.
defender, rebounder. That's
Yeah,
what he is.
putbacks, which is value. I mean, that's a value. And I'm
Yeah,
like, man, you can't make this guy end up being a
rim protector.
yeah, I said, Lord, but fortunately, man, good coaches change. Fortunately, good coaches get, you lose enough, and you want to continue to be in that league, then you're gonna change. You're gonna let that ego go aside, and you're gonna value players for what they are, and you're gonna blend them into a team and not forcibly change them the way you want to be, and that's why he is where he is right now. But the bottom line is Urban Meyer
Yeah,
was a joke.
pretty much. Pretty much. All right, so but yeah, we're gonna put a pin in it right there. So hold on, let me get Josh. He said Patrick Young is pretty good on SEC Network now. Oh, so he's in broadcasting now. Good for Patrick Young, man. I'm happy for Patrick. I always like heard him talk a few times, just hearing about the guy, and just instantly liking him.
Yeah.
And that's good, man. He's on the SEC Network. Yeah, because he didn't get just Mr. Reid just told you now, he didn't get a fair shake.
No, he did. But he made money in Europe. I mean, he had a good, professional career. But man, I used to like any guy from Jacksonville, you're gonna pay special attention to, man. And they're like,
Yeah.
man, what are they trying to do with this guy?
Yeah, for sure. So, well, let's get into this article right here, man. And we talked about a little bit, and you said you were gonna save it before we go on, so we're gonna talk about it. Say NFL adds requirements to Rooney Rule to aid minority hiring. And says, to ensure more opportunities for diverse candidates, the NFL has added requirements on the hiring of offensive assistant coaches and women in general. The moves announced Monday at the owners' meeting include adjustments to the Rooney Rule adopted in 2003 and amended frequently in attempts to enhance opportunities for people of color and women for nearly all the league and team jobs. Beginning this season, all 32 clubs must employ a female or a member of an ethnic or racial minority to serve as an offensive assistant coach. The person will receive a one-year contract and work closely with the head coach and offensive staff to gain experience. In recent years, head coaches have predominantly had offensive backgrounds. The pipeline for minorities on that side of the ball is lacking, as Steelers owner Art Rooney II reiterated Monday. We recognize we have seen progress on some fronts, chairman of the league's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, but we still have a way to go on other fronts. Teams will receive league funding towards the coach's salary for up to 2 years. Overall, including women in all the Rooney Rule requirements, is designed to address representation of women in key football positions. The leagues believe this will encourage the further identification and development of women candidates and the ability to provide them additional opportunity to interview for open positions. Dasha Smith, the NFL's chief administrative officer and one of the league's highest-ranking females, noted that the first time a woman was interviewed for general manager's positions this year. Smith also said that virtual interviews will no longer be acceptable for head coach and general manager positions, and there will be specific requirements for candidates to become offensive assistants. Those will include at least 3 years of experience on the college or pro level. There currently are 5 minority head coaches in the NFL. There are 7 black general managers. So this is the issue I have with this. And black people, they do this to you all the time, and you fall for a hook, line, and sinker. This was supposed to be about black men and black head coaches. That's what this was supposed to be about. That's why all this ruckus and stir up. It wasn't about women. It wasn't about other minorities and underrepresentation. No, that's what this was about. But they're going to paint this as a minority thing. So they're going to put it all under one umbrella to paint it as something for black people. No. What all this does is just like, say, affirmative action. So affirmative action require people to hire minorities, correct? Well, guess who falls under minorities? White women fall under minorities. So they got hired for those positions because of affirmative action. So this right here, all this does is it basically it opens the door for everyone. You want something specifically for you, not for everybody else. Now, women, I get women, they want women in the league. Make something separate for them. Make something separate for them, because you lumping them in, letting them compete against other men, minorities, and men of color for these positions. Most teams are going to hire the men anyway. You need to make something specifically for women. But forcing NFL teams to do this is not going to solve the problem. It's not. It's not, because they don't want to do it. So it's not going to solve the problem. But I'll let you go, Mr. Reid.
Well, I'm going to just clap and say this is a clap for Tampa Bay. a clap for Bruce Arians going into the front office and Todd Bowles becoming a head coach, because
Yeah.
I'm clapping because have you ever watched the guy that go on, I guess, the ladder, and they go up there and clean the windows on skyscrapers?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, basically that's what this is. This is window dressing. That's
Yeah.
all it is. This is
It's window
all.
dressing.
This all they can say is, well, we're we're doing things that to enhance the situation and try to get more black coaches qualified or women. I'm confused, but
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. I watched this press conference at the owners meeting last week, and this is just a classic window dressing move. You know, this is just to tell the public
Yeah.
we trying. I mean, in order to know what this, in order to really know what's going on in this league, you have to listen to the guys like Tomlin and the black coaches, because you know what gets me about the NFL. You got to be a proactive league. You
Yeah.
can't be a league who window dress and okay, well, most of the coaches that's head coaches are offensive coordinators. Basically, that's what they're saying. And then you put in a Rooney rule where they just basically talking to black candidates after they done already hired who they want,
Yeah.
which is another window dressing rule. I am upset about this league, man, because when you put monikers on the field and you talking about in racism and you talk about all the things that you
It
just
takes all of us.
takes all of us and putting all this stuff on these guys back of the helmets, all you doing is just pacifying.
Yes.
You're not actively making change. You
Mm-hmm.
just making sure that you don't become an issue and to hurt business that we gonna do something, because that's what they should have said and what they should do. This is not going to change by that what you just said. You can hire offensive assistants. That's
Yep.
not no assurances that they're going to get the job. What they got
Mm-mm.
to do is they got to have rules implemented. They got to have owners who stop being in the good old boy league and see that guys who's deserving of being head coaches
Mm-hmm.
and they black, that if you're gonna hire somebody and we hire you, you know, you make hires, you look at the credentials, you look at years of service, you look at what their track record has been, what have they done as an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. You look at all those things. And the problem with the NFL is they're not allowing these black assistants to even get in the door. Then that's the problem right there.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, you're gonna tell me, well, we're gonna mandate that every team have a minority offensive assistant. Okay, that it sounds good, but
Sounds good.
what's the second part of that criteria? So what if this offensive coach that you just created a position for, and they're sitting at that position for 5 years? What happens? What's the recall for that? You know what
Mm-hmm.
happens when they're still sitting at that position and nothing is being done? They haven't even not getting an interview. They're being still passed over. I don't see anything in language that's saying what happens when a guy is just continually being passed over basically for no reason.
Yep.
It's got to be a reason. And the reason is that if you don't get more diversity within them and within this owner's rank, then you're not doing your job as a league. You're not doing your job as a commissioner. And you're not doing your job to be telling us and your fan base that you're putting all those monikers on the field to stop stop racism and create diversity, and all you're doing is for advertisement and you're not doing anything literally to change things, then
Yep.
you got a league that's in trouble. And I think that's what this is. This is window dressing. You don't have a plan. You can be the commissioner and you have no power to change, and everything sounds good. It's almost to me like this is when he was speaking at the owners meeting, it was almost like this was his first acknowledgement that there's a problem. You
Yeah.
know, there's a problem because, you know, Brian Flores had a brought on a lawsuit against the league that basically exposing their racism. Now we forced to do something, so let's put our minds together and come up with some scheme so the public can get off our back. That's basically what this sounds to me.
Yeah.
So we don't have our season upcoming 2022 season tarnished by the issue of lack of diversity in coaching, and which is the truth. Those guys need to have some type of outside committee. They need to put this stuff out in the open, which is what are the racial practices of hirings for
Yeah.
each franchise? Why has it been going on? Find solutions so it won't continue to go on, and start promoting people not based on. You can't stick these rules, man. You can't make change by saying we're gonna create a job, and because we creating this job because most of the head coaches are being former offensive coordinator. Well, you got one in Kansas City. He's been sitting
Yes.
at that position. I've heard all kind of stories. Well, Andy Reid called the plays, so that hurts his ability to get a head coaching job.
Gave
Look
him the play calling.
But look at the coaches who have been in that same position, which is including Doug Peterson, and they get jobs. So what that say?
What does that
But
say?
look
And then
at
Andy Reid gave him play calling duties because people said that. Oh, okay, that's what you feel. I'll let him call the plays. There's in this right here. All this does is continue to cycle. It
it is.
does.
That's all it is. It's
It
window
continues to
dressing
cycle.
and cycles. They got no back. Sometimes I wish that the Pete Rozelles and the Taglaboos were back in the NFL today.
Even the David Stearns.
Yeah, they would have been more ideal for this generation right now to make change in this league than who they have right now in charge. You can't have a commissioner who doesn't do anything other than pacify the owners, doesn't go against them, doesn't speak out against them, don't speak out against issues that's obvious. Sounds like like I just said that, oh, this is a shock to me. We got to do something. He said that about 4 times in his press conference. We got to do more. Well, you said
Mm-hmm.
that 3 years ago. You said that
Yep.
4 years ago. If you had the Taglaboos and the David Stearns and those guys are not. They didn't just sit around the campfire to accommodate the owners.
Right.
They had a job to do.
Yeah.
And I believe any one of those two guys, but particularly Tagliabue, that he would have had an outside committee probably. He would have had
Yep.
he would have brought those guys into his office in New York, and you explain to me what are your diversity plans. I want to know them. I want to see them, and then we're going to have a press conference and talk about them. And he would have done things. That's what they need. They got this.
Yeah.
In order for this to change, you got to expose the problem, but you also got to come up with stipulations. I always believe short term, long term, but you got to come up with something better than just okay. We're going to hire an offensive assistant because most of the coaches, head coaches, come in the league. That's why I clap to Tampa Bay because I think Tampa Bay. If you look at their history, this is their second black head coach. You look at Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians just probably said, "Look, I don't think I'm going to have a guy, a black coach, to come in this situation. I want to put him in a situation that he would be just as successful if I was on this job.
Yeah.
I'm gonna step aside. I got Tom Brady. We got a good team. This ain't the Jets, and I want to see him
Yes.
prosper. I want to see him be successful, and I'm gonna step away because I want him to have an opportunity
Yeah.
when a winning situation, not take a job like the Jets where you got to draft, you
Oh,
got
taking that job Lovey took. I don't like Lovey taking that
yeah,
Houston job.
yeah. I want to put him in position to be successful. I think that if he is successful and people see it, it would bring forth more diversity. And that's why I just clap to a franchise and a coach who knows what the problem is, have the foresight to find a way to fix it, and puts a black coach in position to be successful so it can help open the door for more to get in a position. So even if they get a coaching job, it ain't the worst coaching job. So
Right.
I commend them, and I don't commend the league because I don't think that this league that I cover is doing anything to help diversity right now.
No, it's not. It's not. And okay, so you want them to hire more offensive assistants, minorities, and women. No offensive assistant is more qualified than Eric Bieniemy right now for a head coaching job.
He's been
Just about.
sitting at that job, you
Yeah.
know.
Nobody's that's going to get hired under this rule is going to be more qualified than Byron Leftwich right now.
Yep.
There are plenty of qualified offensive assistants right now that you can hire for head coach. Putting this rule in place is not going to solve that. But all this is people, for the people who have kids or you just taking care of kids, they've already eaten their food, and maybe you got like a toddler or something, and they can't really talk like that, but they can beg for stuff. And they've already eaten their food, and they see you eating your food, and they whine and throw a fit just so they can get a crumb of your food. This is what the NFL is like the parent, here you go, give them a little crumb to satisfy them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, they want to just put the problem under the rug, and we just talk about football. Man, that's
Yeah,
basically what it is. We don't want anything to take away from the attention and the attraction of our $1 billion+ industry. That we don't want that to be the focal point of attention. And that's the problem. That's the problem. This league is too successful, and it lives behind the umbrella of success on the field, and don't address the problems that plugs this league, man. That really hampers this league.
yeah,
And you know, it's got to change, man. We can't be in 2022 and a commissioner sits up there on the podium knowing that they have a problem and even recognizes that they have a problem and can't do nothing to fix it. You
yeah,
know, the problem is the 32 owners of this league got to make diversity a priority. It
Yeah.
ain't just one coach. It ain't just the Tampa Bay owner. It's got to be a connection. It's got to be committees. It's got to be just like Washington. It has to be an ongoing process with committees, with owners sitting at the table explaining why our diversity numbers are pitiful.
Yeah.
Make them feel embarrassed because it should be. I mean, come on, man. We shouldn't have this issue at this time. I've always believed that if you're qualified, you should be acknowledged that you qualified and be given the opportunity.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a system of buddies and buddies. I'm more comfortable with such and such, and that's the culture that's going on in the NFL right now. That the culture is that they just hire friends and guys that they're more familiar with instead of hiring the best guy. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And I agree with what Coach Tomlin said. I believe it when I see it, and right now I don't see it. So when you become serious about diversity, I want to see it. And what he's saying is, talk is cheap.
Yeah.
You could mandate a whole lot of stuff, but if you just talking and not action is being done, then you just wasting people time.
Yeah. 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 You're just wasting people
So
time.
the Rooney Rule, the whatever they're gonna call this new rule in. I mean, come on, man. We're gonna be sitting here talking about the same thing 3 years or 4 years from now, and they're gonna be what, two black coaches in the league or less, and we're gonna still be in the same situation, and we still gonna be addressing the same problems. You got
Yeah.
to fix the problem. The fixing the problem is it's got to start with the owners. That's
Yeah.
where it's
It
got to
does.
start at. You can't stop keep hiring your buddies that all look like each other.
Yep, that's it. That is it. So, say Joshua, say any thoughts on the latest stadium news in Buffalo and possibly coming to KC? What that could mean for the Jags? I'm glad you brought that up. We was talking about that off camera. We talked about that.
Story on
I'll
this.
let you address that, Mr. Reed.
Yeah, I'm working on a story, but hey man, let's be honest. I mean, when you look at Lucas Oil Stadium and you look at some of the other stadiums around the league, and you look at our stadium,
Yeah.
there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I give the Jaguars props on this. The Jaguars could easily come in and ask the city of Jacksonville. 2030, when that lease runs out, is not long when it comes to leases,
Yeah.
and the Jaguars could be very ugly and just say, "Look, we're not going to be, we won't sign a renewal of anything until you build us a stadium."
Yeah.
They're not doing that. They say that the lower bowl frame, that lower bowl, all the structural, all that is fine. But we do want a renovation, and we're not talking about $50,000 renovation. We're not talking about adding more pools on the other side of the stadium. We're
Right.
talking about a real renovation in the millions, not billions, in the millions.
Yeah.
And I don't agree a lot with everything the Jaguars do from the franchise perspective, but I've been pretty much to all the stadiums in the league, and it's almost to the point, man. It's almost like it's getting to the point. It's almost like night and day from what those other stadiums have and what we have here. You
Yeah.
know, you go to Seattle. Seattle in their end zone, in their south end zone, they have what they call a standing room only area where they congregate, and you can see them standing up there, and almost every stadium in the league has enough area in the stadium where that is an area that you don't have to buy a sit down ticket and you just go there to socialize. You know,
Yeah.
they got the TVs, the bars. It's a little similar to what they have at the stadium, but
Yeah,
it's
like the
on
buzz on.
like the buzz on, but it's on a much bigger scale.
Yeah.
And you know, you're gonna have to put a covering up on this stadium, man. You can't ask these fans to pay those prices for tickets and beer and all the consumption and all that, and just feel miserable at the game in September. You know, you got to me, you know, I'm me. Now, I'm gonna express my opinion, but that probably should have been done after the first 10 years this franchise was in Jacksonville. That should have been taken care of probably 2005 to put some type of covering up on that stadium, you know,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
mandate the league play the kickoff, you know, move the kickoff back to 4 o'clock because
Yeah.
it's brutal. You know, you don't want it was just say if you were a Jaguar fan, and you know, Jaguars want you to bring your family to the game. So when you bring in family to the games, that means you bringing your kids. So if you got a 7-year-old daughter and she's sitting in the east side of that stadium, I mean, come on. I mean, you expecting her to sit in 90-degree heat with no shade for the game?
Right.
So yeah, you got to you got to renovate that stadium. You got to get this stadium up to the standard that that's that's when you're talking stadiums in this league, you got to put it up to the stadium. You got to put them up to the standard, and it's been long overdue. You know, and I commend the Jaguars because I think the Jaguars could come in and say, "Look, we need a new stadium. We need a retractable roof stadium." I hear it down there in Tampa,
Yeah.
you know, from the baseball team, you know, where they done had proposals. You know, you got a fan base down there. You got a city that don't want to spend no more. You know, don't want to put public money in the stadium because they feel like they were held hostage for the Joe Raymond. I mean Raymond James. They
Yeah.
felt that they were held hostage and they don't want to tax the residents there for a stadium. But there's going to be some public money in this renovation.
Oh yeah. I mean, just look. Well, look what the sun has did to the seats. The sun has beat the color out of the seats at the stadium, dude. Those seats are light blue now. They're not even teal anymore.
Yeah. And that tells you all you need to know right there.
Tell you, hey,
You
it's supposed to
scared
be
right
it's
there.
supposed to be this teal right here, but it's closer to the blue you got on. Like I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
golly.
yeah. The sun done beat the seats up, man. And if we want pro football here, you're gonna because I've seen it in New Orleans. Once the pressure start, once the league get involved, the league says directly, if you don't build a stadium in a such and such time, then the team technically could move.
Yeah.
And they
Hmm.
don't sugarcoat. I
No.
mean, I was in New Orleans with, thankfully in New Orleans that could, you know, I hate to say thankfully, but if Hurricane Katrina hadn't came, there's no
Hmm.
way in the world that the state was going to have enough money to refurbish the Superdome. It just
Yeah.
so happened that they got the federal dollars because it was damaged during the storm. That they you know they had the right to get that money to refurbish that dome. But if that storm hadn't come, the Saints would have been in San Antonio playing at the Alamo Dome. So
Wow.
I think for what they're asking, which is a renovation and not a new stadium, I think the Jaguars are doing Jacksonville a favor. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, when you look at you know, a lot of people just don't understand that. And never in my lifetime I would ever think that a stadium costs big like $4 billion. You know, I would have never thought in my lifetime that a stadium would cost over $1 billion.
Never.
But when you go to LA and you see that stadium, SoFi,
Yeah.
there ain't a bad. You could be 70 feet up in the air, and I did it. You can go 70 feet up in the upper level,
Hmm.
and you don't feel. Believe me, you don't feel the upper level like you do in Jacksonville as you do there, because the sight lines are diagonal to the field, and whatever that means, you don't feel like you 600 feet up in the air, and they look
Hmm.
like little ants. It don't feel that way.
They've had so much time to perfect stadiums and get the designs right. And like you say, it's time. It's time. Jacksonville could hold the city over a barrel very easily, but they're like, hey, we just want some renovations. So
Jacksonville, I say this, being a native and a person that's born and raised here, it can't be like the Lot J situation.
yeah,
You can't have 16 government committees that's got to sign off on this situation, because if it gets to that point where you got to have majority vote, or you got to have one committee, and then you got to have this committee and that committee, and you got to have like six committees to sign off on a renovation that's needed. That's not going to be a good thing, man. So
yeah,
whatever that the same process that happened when they approved the funding for the practice facility and the hotel, and that's the kind of processes need to be done to get that stadium renovated, because it's needed.
yeah,
Because another thing, Brandon, you have to put money in it. There's no way that stadium should look the way it does right now. There's no way that the seats should not have been replaced 5 seasons ago.
at least 5 years ago.
At least you can't just. You have to maintain it. Even when when you get it renovated, it still got to be maintained. And if you're talking about Florida Georgia game, you talking about the Gator Bowl game, and you talking about what we're talking about, 8, 7 dates of with the Jaguars playing here at the stadium. It's worth the money because your exposure is coming from that stadium. You
Yep.
probably get more exposure from TIAA Bank Field than probably any other thing you have in this town. And you don't want to have it's almost like, man, you don't want to have your city betrayal on national television, that you got sun-stained seats in the stadium.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So
that's
yeah.
going to
No.
be an issue. Believe me,
Yeah.
it's already started. Buffalo is getting a stadium built. They
Yeah.
got
I
the
just
money
need.
approved, and there's
Hmm.
only other stadium that hasn't had any no major renovations is this one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he say even KC is possibly getting some stuff done to their stadium too. So yeah, they just won Super Bowl. But we're gonna get into some Jag stuff before we go to basketball. But see, thoughts on Arden Key. I think it was a good pickup. 18th best pass rusher ranked on Pro Football Focus. I don't think he's a 6.5 sacks last year. He's not a number one guy pass rusher. I think we still lack that. I think Josh Allen is a compliment. I don't think he'll ever be a number one, 15 sack a year guy, or a guy that everybody games playing for. He could turn in that. Who knows? But as it stands, we're still missing that guy. You got a good collection of guys, but you're still kind of missing that guy, like the wide receiver room.
yeah, I agree. I do like Arden in the fact that he's versatile. He can play. He can rush from the inside, and he can rush from the outside. I I think that Doug Peterson looked at the tape, and we got to bring more competition for Caleb on. I think we got to, hey, don't be shocked if he get traded or cut, because if he
Yeah.
shows what he's been showing, he's not going to be on this team. So you got to add competition on that opposite side of Josh Allen, particularly. And I'm not sold that I'm gonna come out with a mock draft, but I'm not sold that they're gonna, it's etched in stone that they're gonna draft Hutchinson. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not sold on that whatsoever. I think they're evaluating the situation, and I think you can never go wrong adding a veteran edge rusher who is going to be motivated by a 1 year prove it contract. And 6.5 sacks. You look at, they got 3 players on this team with 6.5 sacks from last season. But I agree with you. I don't think he's the answer. I think he's a piece that
Yeah.
that he can add something, but they need more. And you gotta put a lot of it. It puts pressure on a guy like Smoot. It puts pressure on a guy like Chason.
Yep.
And man, the biggest thing of all, though, Brandon, I'm just glad that this football team is bringing competition at positions, because I
Yes.
think, to me, that's been the biggest problem over the last 3 years. I done talk bad about Jawan Taylor. I take nothing back that I spoke about. I said in his face. You have to have competition to be good in this league. You have to have a situation where you looking over your shoulder, and that Tweety bird going off in your head that if I don't do well, this guy that's backing me up is going to take my spot. And
Yep.
nobody on a football team in the NFL should have, unless it's Tom Brady or one of those guys, should ever have a thought of being complacent, or don't have to earn his position. And I think a
What a
lot
mess.
of times over the last couple of seasons that they've had guys who just been complacent, didn't earn their spot, but also
Yeah.
know that they got nobody behind them that's better than them. And when you get beat, when you penalties and all that crap that Jawan Taylor did last season, I don't think that's going to happen
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, I say Josh Stewart say need competition at center now for sure. Yeah, I expect Shatley to start, but you're gonna draft a guy. They're gonna bring competition in. That seems to be the moniker of Doug Peterson and these guys is competition. They've brought guys in to compete on every level of the defense. Two on the defensive line. I expect them to draft, have a decent class, from bringing in another wide receiver, probably drafting another lineman. And then that number one, they're pretty much they've been keeping basically not letting people guess who they're going to take basically. So I see they had a meeting with Evan Neal a couple of days ago. Josh Allen supposedly had lunch with Aiden Hutchinson not too long ago. I saw and I've seen the Trayvon Walker talk, Ekwonu talk. So at this point you really don't know. But if I'm the Jaguars, number one, I'm taking Evan Neal at this moment.
Yeah,
I'm,
and
ta- I'm taking Evan Neal.
I agree. Because I think, look, man, I think Hutchinson is a nice player. Not gonna
Decent player.
trash him. But when you draft number one, you draft first of all, you draft somebody that you're gonna it's gonna help you immediately is the number one thing. But
Yes.
also you draft number one, you gotta look at how big of an impact they can make over a period of time. You know, when I
Mm-hmm.
see Hutchinson, I don't see a guy that's gonna be a parental all pro every year, a guy that I don't think he's gonna be compared to the greats. I don't think he's gonna be that kind of edge rusher. I think he's gonna be productive, but I don't think he's gonna be in that upper echelon.
Yeah.
When I see Evan Neal, I see a guy who can play guard, tackle,
Mm-hmm.
and play it at a high level. I
Yep.
see I see a Cam Robinson. I think the Jaguars like him very much. I think they
Mm-hmm.
regard him as a talent. I don't think Cam Robinson has the same love for the Jaguars as the Jaguars have for him. Now if you want to pay him and pay, if you want to extend him a 3 year, whatever, 3 to 4 year contract, that's on you. But if not, you got somebody. If he plays at guard, he can immediately step in at that left guard, at that left tackle spot. If Cam here for one, if he just here for this season under the franchise tag, then you got Neal that can play immediately. You do have a hole at left guard.
Yes.
Andrew Norwell is gone, so you can have a situation where you draft him, he immediately a starter. And then whatever Cam's situation is, you don't have to wait. Because I think Cam realized he has the leverage. He hadn't signed his franchise tag. They have until July the 15th to get a deal done. And he knows it. So he's not going to do anything before the draft. He's not going to make it easy for the Jaguars, because technically I don't think he really want to be here in the first place. But if they're going to give him $16.5 million, he would be like me and you. Okay, I'll take it, but it's going to be under my terms. So I think what's happening right now with that whole situation, his agent probably throwing out a number that's unrealistic. I want to be paid $26 million or whatever. He's just throwing an unreasonable number that's making it impossible for him to get locked up to a 3-year deal before the draft. And he might agree to something after the draft, but I put it on the table tonight that he's not going to agree to any long-term deal before April the 28th.
Yeah, I don't see him agreeing. Yeah, he said, I'm still taking Neal Ekwonu at 1. Yeah, Josh. Yeah, I am too. And it's interesting. Also, Jamison Williams is ahead of schedule for his rehab on his ACL. So whether Pickens might have shot himself up into the first round, most likely. For him to run that 4.4, 6'3", 200 plus pounds, coming off not even a year, basically a year removed from an ACL tear, and he probably pushed himself up. But Jamison Williams at 33, you could either I think it was I saw somebody mocked a safety or two as well, but I'm taking Neal at 1 if I don't have any trade offers for him, because who's going to trade for the number 1 pick right now? So that I think that the trade scenarios are pretty much off the table, because Malik Willis ain't going 1 overall. He's not. He's not going 1 overall. Even if we trade to pick somebody else who really wanted him, they're not going to take him 1 overall. They said quarterbacks may not go in the first round at all. So that's the only way I will see anybody trading up, unless somebody really wanted Evan Neal or Ekwonu or something like that, which I don't see that happening. So let's say Jaguars stay at 1, take Neal, come back, get you another receiver at 33, and then get you a center. Maybe go get you another tight end, go get you another DB, get another defensive end, however you want to do it. But taking Neal at 1, because Evan Neal. So let's say Cam Robinson at left tackle, Evan Neal at left guard, Shatley at center, Scherf at right guard, and Walker Little at right tackle, because I know Jawan Taylor most likely is not starting at right tackle. He's a backup. So that line right there is much improved from last year.
Oh, yeah. And, the priorities always got to be, man. I know they got to get another wide receiver, obviously. But
you have to.
But the priority is, man, you got to make sure that you have the best protection possible for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
If you can upgrade that position, and like you say, I wouldn't go lower than 3rd round and try to get a start. You got to get a start in left guard. And at this point, you don't have the money, it looks like to me, with the cap, to go and sign one. I don't even think there's one out there available in free agency at a left guard. I like Ben Bartch, but I wouldn't put my money on Ben Bartch moving from the right to the left guard. So I think that's what they should do. I think you should draft Evan Neal, the guy. He's top rated at his position. He done played left guard, right tackle. And even if you have a situation where if you're thinking about changing, let's just throw out Jawan Taylor, even though he said publicly he's not a guard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, you could move him to a guard and move Neal to a right tackle. You know, if it's that situation.
Yeah. Let's see. Josh say Neil in the first round, Linderbaum, the center, in the second round, and Justin Ross or Mechie in the third round. That's not bad. That's not bad. You get you a tackle and a center in your first two picks, and you come back and you get you a Justin Ross who played with Trevor, or a Mechie from Alabama who I think is really good.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that I like that. I like that. Out of the two, though, if I could get Jamison Williams instead of Mechie, I would take Jamison Williams, but I wouldn't be mad at Mechie. Let's see. Let's say I'm just so happy that other sports writers are speaking good things about the Jags right now because the urban cloud was trying to linger. I'm excited about this upcoming season. Yeah, once that last little report about, I hope no more reports about Urban come out. I hope they've exhausted everything. I hope everybody fired every bullet they wanted to fire. Nobody's holding anything back anymore because that last one was, I thought it was just bad before, but that last one was like the cherry on top of the crap Sunday, man. It was, man. He talking about, these boys from the South transcripts ain't right. And if I fire you, if I cut you today, you only going to be making a job. You only going to be able to get a job making $15 an hour. So after that right there, no more bad press, please.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think the guy was an embarrassment. He embarrassed himself. He embarrassed the city. He embarrassed the franchise.
Yeah.
And make no mistake, I think he set back the radar on college coaches getting head coaching jobs.
I think so too. Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think he done set it back probably worse than anybody. And that's a long story short. But man, it just aggravates me. I just say this truthfully though. When a guy like Urban Meyer can be hired as an NFL coach, and you got a problem hiring the diverse, with diversity, and you hire this guy as bad as he was, and then you see a guy like Eric Bieniemy still waiting on an opportunity, can't get one, and you see a guy like Urban Meyer just come out of nowhere and get a job like that. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
problem right there. I mean, that's on a nutshell, that's the issue right there. A guy with
Yeah.
no NFL experience at all actually got a head coaching job and was the biggest flop maybe in the history of the game.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything about the NFL game, and then you this league is talking about we need to hire offensive assistants, special offensive assistants, as a possibility that they can get hired as a head coach. I don't know.
Yeah,
I leave it
dude.
at
And this sums up, and we're gonna leave it right here. This sums up the Urban Meyer era. Never did I think that any coach for the Jaguars could ever be worse than Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley, Gus Bradley's a good guy. I like the guy. Would like to go have a drink with a guy, talk to him. Hey, he wanted me to bring me on as a defensive assistant. Say, hey, Brandon, come around. I'll show you how to do it. I'm going there. I'm gonna be with him. I'll bring him on the show. Love the guy. Didn't like him as a coach. One of the worst coaches in he's the worst coach in Jaguars history. Almost the worst coach winning percentage wise in NFL history. Only one was worse was Burt Bell, former owner of the Eagles, who didn't have a coach and he decided he wanted to coach the team and he was terrible at it. Urban Meyer was worse. I can't believe that. And it's 11 games? He was worse. Absolutely worse. But Byron Leftwich can't get a job.
well,
Eric Bieniemy can't get a job.
Urban Meyer in my whole career was the worst coach from high school to college. Well, Curly Hallman was pretty bad at LSU, but he's the worst. Not just coaching, just a bad person. A guy who flaunted his power. If you read the
Yeah.
stories, that's what he did. He flaunted his power. He didn't care about getting any feedback or repercussions for his attitude, and it just was abuse of power. And that's just horrible for a coach. And another thing, and we talked about this on the show last week. The one thing that I'm appalled. I mean, one thing, not appalled is the right word, but the one thing that troubles me about the whole situation is that the players did absolutely nothing. You know, you could have went to the Players Association and
Yeah.
complained. And when they were asked specific questions, and it was just like, like it's our house and everything, in our house is good. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, man, come on, man. That just, I
Yeah,
mean,
they should have did what that see that's this how you know it's different. It's a different time because that 2017 team
yeah,
so let's just say 2016 to 2019, that era right there, those couple of years, Jaguars had the most complaints for the to the NFLPA by far.
yeah,
Those guys didn't take it laying down, and it was nowhere near what Urban Meyer put us through. And they were
no,
sick of Coughlin and Caldwell, and they went to the higher ups on them. So for those guys not to say anything, not to do anything, man, I don't know if they were in fear of their jobs or whatever because they feared him because he did flex his power a lot. But dude, guys like Josh Allen shouldn't have feared Urban Meyer. Trevor
no.
Lawrence shouldn't have feared Urban Meyer. Shaquille Griffin shouldn't have feared Urban Meyer. A lot of those guys who, you got them contracts, you ain't going nowhere at least for another couple of years, shouldn't fear that guy. Speak out.
Well, those are the guys who should have spoke out. And it also,
Trevor's a rookie though, so I don't put much on Trevor because Trevor's just learning. But those veterans, come on.
but whoever I don't even know who it might have was Brandon Linder, who was their their union rep, that they
Mm-hmm.
should have had some type of unified stance that this stuff can't be tolerated, man. You can't, and if you go back and look at the stuff that really happened over the season, I can remember when they were in OTAs and they got cited for having contact work doing the OTAs. You
Yeah, the
know,
wide receiver DB drill.
yeah,
Yeah,
and he kind of said that he blamed it on the players. Then he blamed it that the competition between the receivers and the DBs got a little out of hand, but it was more on competition. So he never took the onus of blaming himself for even that.
yeah,
And who knows what else? The biggest question about last season to me right now, what is what is the stuff that we don't know? You know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Man,
what is the stuff that we don't know? And,
yeah,
I look at the list of their coaches, man. This guy almost hired like 25 coaches on the staff. And I think I did something last week, and it's like 19 coaches are, they have jobs elsewhere. Not everybody on his staff got hired somewhere else, and some of them got rehired by Doug. But I
yeah,
mean, I just wonder, like, what do we don't know? I mean, like, like I go
yeah,
back to that Houston. I go back to the Houston game, the opening game of the season, and I'm looking at this team, and I'm like saying, "Well, man, these guys. I saw them work. I saw training camp. I saw the preseason games, and it's almost like, man, you watch those guys out there on the field, and it's like absolutely like it just like they didn't practice. It looked like they
yeah.
didn't they didn't
They
have a
look
training camp.
they look detached. They look lethargic.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, they did. So let's see. Let's say they have projected us to only win 6 games. I saw 6.5. What do y'all think? I don't think that's a bad number. I think six to 6.5 is a decent number. I seen they got the Jets at 5 wins, had them at 5, having us at 6 wins after coming off of 3 wins. You've improved some, but we're not a juggernaut yet, and this is not a playoff roster yet. So 6 wins, I think that's not bad.
no, that's not bad. And then you just see, how do you My biggest thing is maybe not even the wins. Is how do they perform? Are they
Yeah,
going to be entertaining? Are they going to be an offense that can make it worth watching, like score, not
yeah,
one touchdown a game?
yeah.
Are
Can
they
we be like if they're going to be like the 2016 team? I think the 2016 team may have won like only 4 or 5 games,
Mhm.
but in at least 9 of their games, they 9 of their losses, because I think they lost like 10 games, 10 or 11 games. In 9 or 10 of the losses, it was by a touchdown or less.
Yeah,
So they were in the games. They just couldn't finish them.
and that's what they got. They got to be competitive. They got to
Be
be.
competitive.
You can't have this quarterback Trevor Lawrence waste another season. And I don't think, but we sat here last year. It's so hard, man, to do the over and under, man. It's
It's
a
hard.
hard thing to do in April, man. It's hard to predict 6 wins, 3 wins, 7 wins, or whatever. I think they can win 7 would be a success.
Yeah,
But this league, when you go into the 17 game schedule, injury here, injury there can happen. They got to get adjusted to the new way of doing things under Doug Peterson, and I don't think that you can get everything that you need through an off season and a training camp.
yeah,
Another thing you got to look at is just this team got to establish continuity. It's got
yeah,
to it's got to find itself. It's so much losing that's just been permeated here since 218 that, man, these guys got to know how to win again, you know?
yeah. And I was saying, I hope that the losing didn't rub off on Trevor, because Trevor's a winner. He's won everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope that that first year doesn't set him back too much, because it slowed his development. It was obvious. We saw it. We saw it. Trevor had hit a wall, and he couldn't get over that wall for what, a month and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, that staff is gone.
Fortunately,
the
fortunately.
shot, the shot, the Schottenheimers is a
Oh
consultant
yeah,
with
oh yeah, Josh Stewart. Yeah, Marvin Jones had his issues, but he downplayed it. Yeah, he had his issues, but he downplayed it. Yeah,
yeah, well,
that's another issue.
that's a problem right there.
Yeah,
Why downplay if somebody got out, either through his agent or somebody said something about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And see, Ness say, "Oh, Ness feeling brave today." He said, "I'm going out on the limb and say 9.5 wins." I don't know about that one, Ness. I don't know about
That's,
that one.
that's a lot of confidence in the hometown team, man.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I like it. I like it, but I don't know about that one. See, Mike Caldwell hasn't been a DC before. Either that's going to be a transition. It's going to be a transition, but I don't foresee that being an issue. Because hey, look, we had Todd Wash for a long time, man. I don't think
Yeah,
that's going to be an issue.
yeah. That was still a transition with him. He's been gone for 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be a transition, but he's a lot better than Todd Walsh.
Yeah. Oh man, Chris say they didn't play with the backbone on the field. How can they stand up for anything off of it? Ooh.
Hey, I like that,
Ooh.
man. Who's
Chris.
that? I
Chris.
like that.
Golly, Chris. Chris
But you're
killed
right.
him.
He says a lot. That's true.
Yeah.
But in order to be a
Yeah.
team that's competitive, you got to have some backbone. You got to. You.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to stand for something, and they didn't stand for nothing.
No.
I even go back to my man DJ Chalk. To be honest, like, man, do you remember in September when the head coach said that he didn't he played below his size, and you know
Oh man.
and
Mm-hmm.
then he ripped him like
Ripped him.
so DJ Chalk finally said something publicly after the guy done got fired. I don't know.
Yeah. Man. Hey, and that's standing behind it. He say Duval. Hey, so hey, that's hey, 9.5, man. 9.5 wins for sure. I like it. I like it. I like it. But hey, I don't know, man. We shall see. I say what I had one last football before we get to basketball. Oh yeah, you brought him up earlier. We'll talk a little bit about him, but Bruce Arians, and you say kudos to Bruce Arians for he's stepping aside because he said he's probably going to be retired anyway in a year, and he wanted to give Todd Bowles a great situation to go out in. They put him in the front office, and of course, the conspiracy theory is that Tom Brady called this. Tom Brady basically got him kicked upstairs. And I seen some people who the voices of reason said it best. It was like, well, if Tom Brady didn't want him there and didn't want him on the sideline, Arians would have just retired then. He said he's not going to be relegated to the front office if that's not where he wants to be.
Yeah. I'm not in that. I mean, that's a. I'm not in that theory.
They had an icy relationship, of course. They had some issues, but him forcing him out, I don't see that at all.
No, I don't see that either. I think this completely was Bruce Arians' decision. I mean, let's face it. I mean, he hadn't been in the best of health over the last 5 years.
No, he hasn't.
What is there more to gain? He's got a Super Bowl. I mean, he doesn't achieve that. He's not going to force a guy out, and he doesn't want a Super Bowl within two years. I just think that he did this. The fact that I believe Bruce Arians, I say this on record, is a big advocate for racial diversity in this league, and he stepped forward probably more. I mean, I won't put him ahead of the Steelers, but I think he's one of those guys that's done more for diversity in the league than most.
Yeah, someone floated the idea. They said that they need to hire him. The NFL needs to hire him and put over a diversity committee or something, because he obviously gets it right. He knows what to do, and he said it plainly. He said, "I don't understand the issue in other places because I hired guys because they were good coaches. I hired a woman because she was a good coach.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do."
No, it's not hard to do. The hard thing is to change these owners, the old boy owners, and change their perceptions. And it ain't, man, let's face it, man. I don't know if you watched the hearings went on with the Supreme Court justice.
Ketanji Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's almost like if you listen to some of the questions that were asked to her, you would almost think that we back in 1962.
Yeah, I did hear some of those questions. I did hear it. The only thing that I did not like out of her whole thing, what she said, was when they asked her to define a woman. That was troublesome for me because she couldn't do it. And I know why she couldn't do it. It's not like because she's a very smart woman, Ivy League, probably got every degree you can think of, very smart woman. But she tiptoed around it because she didn't want to offend, the LGBTQ community. She didn't want to do that, and trans women and things like that. But it is problematic that she didn't answer it because a woman is a woman and a man is a man.
Yeah.
And all this does is goes back to competition, which we have left that off because you say you didn't want to say nothing you shouldn't say, like the female swimmer who was previously male and stuff like that and whatnot. But I just wanted her to that right there. But other than that, she was excellent. She was excellent in what she in it. But in the questions, like you said, I was like, why are you asking all these type of questions?
Yeah, like one, I can't think of his name, Graham from South Carolina, asked her, what is her faith? Technically that's against the law. You're not supposed to ask questions. If you was to get a job interview, your faith doesn't have anything to do with your job ability, first of all. And that's part of the labor law that you're not supposed to, it's not anybody's business what your faith is. But she answered it. She said she was Protestant. So, but that's the world we live in. It extends beyond the owners. I mean, you can see the issue in those hearings. And we got a
Yeah.
long ways. I mean, the bottom line is we got a long ways to go, man.
Yeah. You see, they treated that lady horribly, and she has better credentials than most of the people asking those asinine questions. And you know what? And it wasn't just her, because you could say, "Oh, well, they did that because she's a black woman." No, somebody brought it up, man. And the last couple of those, and I forgot what the technical name for it was, but the last ones of those, like Kavanaugh and Clarence Thomas, it was awful. I mean, it really hasn't been a good one, if we're being honest. They went back into the archives and they're like, anytime the Supreme Court justice, anybody who's nominated for it, it was pretty much awful.
Yeah. But she's qualified, man. And you know,
Yeah.
one more thing, yeah, Lindsey Graham. And another thing is, she didn't have any notes. I mean, that was amazing to me. Like all the things that she can recite, she didn't have to go back and flip through notes and well, what was you judged this in 1997, and she didn't have to go back and flip through her note files or have an assistant there to help her ascertain that kind of stuff, man. This lady is qualified. And that's what, once you get on the Supreme Court, we don't know if they're gonna be pro this or anti this or what.
Don't know.
But the issue is if their issue in these confirmation hearings should be only, is she qualified? It's not what's her faith. It's not what you going back and looking at her decisions rendered on what the majority of the have been rendering. Judges have been rendering the same sentences, and it's like, well, all of a sudden you trying to portray as like she's allowing pedophiles out, with less time.
Yeah, I
It's
saw that.
just this country, man. We can't. It's always like, we.
Yeah, it's always something. It's all it says, and it's the same in the NFL realm. And from whether it's picking players to picking coaches, you're always trying to harp on what the car can't do.
Yeah, well,
They
that's
don't talk about what the
the
car can do.
yeah, that's the problem. Or you being asked in interviews, what do you feel is the biggest mistake you ever made? I mean, like,
Oh
what?
man, when they ask the players that, yeah, man. Oh man, dude, no. Peak terribleness is what they did to Dez Bryant, and
Yeah,
talking about, and with his dad being a pimp and his mother supposed to being a pro. Come on, man. Yeah, because he said we asked about what did his dad do. He said, well, my dad was a pimp. And he said, what did your mom do? Well, my mom worked for my dad. He's like, oh, well, was she a prostitute? Wow. Like, come on, man. Like, seriously? Yeah. Why are you asking him that? That's not nothing about catching footballs.
yeah. Well, that's the whole thing about what we just discussed about this Supreme Court confirmation. I mean, come on, man. What does that got to do with anything about being a judge, a Supreme Court justice? Nothing at all. But that's the world we live in, man.
Yeah, that's where we live in. So we're gonna put a pin in that right there, and we're gonna get into some basketball. Let's see what he said. Brett Kavanaugh, so about racist sexual assault and pig. He made it through, and this woman was better credentials than him. And Lindsey Graham made a spectacle of himself in support of Kavanaugh. Disgusting. Yeah, they railroaded. They tried their best to railroad Kavanaugh, though. He made it through, but they tried their best to railroad him, because that lady who came out, they found out she got paid to say those things. And he came out. He had dates that whatever day that was, she said happened. He had receipts of him being in another place at that time. I was like, wow, see that's the railroading that we're talking about, man. But it's Kavanaugh, so most people don't like him, so like, oh, whatever. But they shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And the same thing with her. But man, we're gonna get into some of this basketball, and then we're gonna get on up out of here. Yeah, I saw Duke. Duke is down 2 points. It's 49-47 with 12:56 left. Yeah, I know Josh Stewart's sweating bullets right now. I know you sweating, Josh. You ain't got to tell me. You see, you see what he got on his got the the North Carolina emblem on this thing. So I know he's sweating bullets right now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But man, we're gonna talk about Anthony Davis, sir. But we gotta talk about your boy Doc Rivers first, man. And Doc Rivers did something that I don't know if it was a good thing for him to do. So a report came out that says that some Sixers players are not feeling Doc Rivers. They say the Ringers, Wozni, Lambre dropped a little inside knowledge on the most recent Ringer NBA show podcast this week, where he warned of just a little unrest in Sixers land with respect to Rivers. Lambre also warned aggregators to relax before he dropped this intel. I will, of course, never relax. Here's what Lambre had to say. A few weeks ago, because I'm deeply tapped in with the player side of what's happening with the Sixers, though I don't know anybody in the Morey administration, I'm hearing like, man, guys are not feeling Doc, his rotations, his philosophies, what he's doing. Guys aren't feeling it. To me, sometimes you can chalk it up to be like, I should be playing more. That's every NBA player. So I'm like, I'm ignoring this. I'm ignoring this. So that was one of them, and it was one more because he basically came out and lambasted James Harden. That I saw that first, and then I seen the report about players not liking him. So yeah, so he called out James Harden after the Sixers' fourth quarter collapse in the loss to the Pistons. So he said, I thought it was a tough game. I thought offensively we really just stood around. They were switching. We just played outside and didn't move the ball as a group. At halftime, we were shooting 42%, I think, and I just thought the fouls bailed us out. We were awful in the first half, too. We played with very little life tonight. Didn't play together at all. That's something we've been doing. It's just one of those nights, but a tough one. Okay, I got no problem with that. A tongue lashing from the coach after you didn't play well. Say a fair criticism and one the Sixers face for a new season face a few seasons now. The difference these days is that the team has James Harden, who they traded for specifically to solve those sorts of problems. He has quite been the player they were expecting. He hasn't quite been the player they've been expecting, however, at least not often enough. Thursday night was another rough performance. He finished with 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists, but shot 4 from 15 from the field and was poor in the fourth quarter. And this is what he said. He said, well, the bench didn't struggle, Rivers said. They didn't get a lot of shots in their defense. I think during that stretch, it was more James than them. So, yeah, it's just a tough night. And so that's the part I want to highlight right there.
Well, dude, let me add my 2 cents in here.
Yeah,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
hear anything about Doc being a bad coach until he came to Philly.
I was going to say that.
And
You got it. Go ahead.
That's what it is, man. This guy is bad music. I don't care what anybody say. Every time, go back and read the story. If you go back to Brooklyn, some of this stuff is almost the same type of stuff that went on there before his departure, and it just, I done said what I had to say about him. I mean, he's a bad dude, man. He don't like to be chastised by the coach. He was horrible. Anybody shoot 4-15 is horrible. I don't like his effort. I don't like his effort in some games. It's just sometimes he just passing. I mean, it's just like he's not playing hard. And I commend Doc. I mean, Doc, that team was good before James came on.
Yeah.
And I just, it's almost to the point, man. This guy, I mean, how do you coach him? I mean, how do you coach him? How do you not allow him to be a problem for your basketball team? And they just, come on, man. The Sixers didn't need James Harden. They were doing just fine without him. And that's just the kind of things that a guy who's just a me first player, which he is. He's a great talent, never going to doubt his talent. But he's a me first guy. And he can tear a team apart in a quickly, which he's looked like he's doing with this one. And he's got his GM there in place, and I'm sure the Doc and trouble problems is just something that's being rumored and speculated or being even told to the media. What I think, Morey got to stop pandering to James Harden. That's the first problem right there. That stuff in Houston was because of him. He allowed it to happen. You didn't have James Harden picking what time the team practice, what time they leave to go on road trips, what gym they can practice at that's close to where he needs to get to start the night of to the strip clubs. And this guy, man, he's just you got to be serious about the game. You got to be serious about basketball. You got to be serious about joining a playoff contending team and being an asset and not a detriment. And this guy don't get it, and he's tearing the team apart right now. I've seen him play, and this guy, he. I mean, they don't. I mean, luckily they got a MVP guy on the team, but all that questioning and is Doc in trouble and Morey don't say nothing, and man, this guy's at work again, man. He done it to Brooklyn. The guys were so frustrated with him with the Nets that they went to management to tell them, you got to get rid of this guy. He's got to go.
That speaks volumes, man. Your teammates.
Your
teammates.
But he disrespected with everybody.
That's like man, what is his name? He played for Florida on the 2 championship teams in the start. Joakim Noah. So if you remember Joakim Noah early in his tenure with the Bulls, dude, he was a headache.
Yeah.
He was a headache. And I remember he got in some trouble and he got suspended for a game. And his teammates went to management told them, you need to sit him for an additional game. Your punishment wasn't harsh enough. He hasn't learned the lesson. You need to sit him longer. That speaks volumes about you. Yeah. When your teammates go to management about you. And James hasn't been the same player since he put on 20 pounds to get out of Houston. He hasn't. That body has started to, I guarantee you, because he's never been a workout warrior. Dude, Chris Paul, he had an issue with Chris Paul because Chris Paul told him he had man boobs. So he's never been a workout warrior. He's never been in ridiculously great shape. And then he gained that weight to get out of Houston, and it's been downhill ever since. He can't stay healthy. And I guarantee you it's because he decided to put on them pounds and force his way out of Houston.
Yeah, just like I say, man, that the GM got to be a GM. You can't be friends or buddies of the players. You know, Morey cannot just okay. We allow you to do this. We fine with this. Or we got to get rid of Doc because he don't treat me right. I mean, you can't. I hate. I mean, I'm telling you that this guy will divide a great team into a bad one, and it's happening. It's happening in front of our eyes. 4-15, and I like to know what was his response. I guess he didn't want to speak that night. He goes 4-15. He gets out of
he avoided the podium.
Yeah,
he avoided the podium.
Exactly.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me get these comments. Let's see. Ness says, "Why is Brittany Griner still in the foreign jail? Because she's American. That's the only reason why she's still over there. If she wasn't an American, she would be gone. Because from what I've heard, don't know how true this is, but from what I've heard, that she's been going over there for years, so she knows the protocols. She didn't do anything out of her normal routine. They said it's something that she's always done. She's always had the cartridges, the hash oil, the vape pen, or whatever. And it's because of what's going on, her being an American, they decided to stop her this time. Because they said before she's done it numerous times and nothing has happened. So I mean that could be why she's still there, and she's being used as a pawn. You seen Lisa Leslie? Oh yeah, Lisa Leslie came out and said that she heard from WNBA players that they told them not to make a big deal about it, basically. So they don't want Brittany to be used as a pawn. So, hey, don't talk about it too much because we don't want Russia to use her as a pawn or whatever. But I don't understand. You campaign about everything else, but this, you supposedly want to have a temper this down? Why? For what? What purpose?
Yeah,
It's not going to matter.
I'm questioning on what direction is this WNBA? Who is the commissioner? Because they just over the
They're
last
wrecking
couple,
the league. Yeah,
they just been
wrecking the
making
league.
worst decision after worst decision. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, why not support her? I mean, what is that? This America. We don't sanction support for people in this country. It's not the
Yeah.
Ukraine where they just, it's not Russia where the State Department gonna, slap somebody on the hand for speaking out. I mean, come on, man. She's a pawn now, if you want to say that. I mean, she's being,
Yeah.
held with, for something
She's a
that's
pawn
not
already.
even, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the point in not saying that, to keep her in the public eye and giving support and just, saying what the truth is. You
And I hate
don't.
I hate to take it here, Mr. Reed. I really hate to take it here, but I'm going to take it here. Do they say this if Brittany Griner was white? If this was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman, they wouldn't say this. Let's be honest. They wouldn't. They wouldn't. No, but because this is a black woman with dreads in her head, no, don't make too much of a big deal about it because they could use her. They use her as a pawn now.
Yeah.
They can let her go. They don't. Come on, that right there. It's not like she was carrying explosives or something like that through the airport. Come on.
Yeah.
They were already doing it.
Yeah. And I'm sure other Russians been doing it too. So.
Oh my God! Come on, yeah, you gotta know. You gotta know. So
she's been sitting in jail for months, man. It's like, come on.
Months. Yeah. Now she broke their laws, whatever. She's serving, whatever. But come on, man. Come on. Not make a big deal about it because they don't want to use her as a pawn. She's a pawn already. Let's see. Oh, Josh Stewart brought him up. He said, "What about Ben Simmons' weekly update?" Oh, come on, Josh. We got to do a weekly update on Ben Simmons, a guy who hasn't played basketball in a year.
This is my update. When is he gonna wear a uniform?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's when the next update. When he put on a uniform, then we can talk about him. I mean, who cares about Ben Simmons, man?
Yeah.
Now he got a bad back. He got a hurt toe. He's just like AD, just soft.
Yeah. No, so he said Nets Ben Simmons files grievance against the 76ers to recoup nearly $20 million in withheld salary. So
yeah, why are you sitting on the bench?
Why he's sitting on the bench, right? That's a photo of him on the bench. He said Brooklyn Nets forward Ben Simmons has filed agreements with the NBA in order to try to recoup the nearly $20 million in salary that the 76ers withheld from him this season. According to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski and Ramona Sherborne, this move was widely expected and agreements will now go through the league's arbitration process. Simmons requested a trade from Philadelphia this past offseason, and he made it clear that he didn't intend to play for the team again until his wish was granted. The Sixers began to withhold pay from Simmons when he didn't show up for the start of training camp. He ultimately returned to Philly to rejoin the Sixers, and the team briefly stopped finding him once he said that he wasn't mentally ready to play. However, the finals resumed in short order when Simmons declined to meet with team doctors or share updates regarding his mental health progress. Obviously, Simmons and the team didn't see eye to eye on this issue. That was funny. Simmons, along with Seth Curry, Drummond, and 2 future picks, was the trade to the Brooklyn Exchange for Harden and Millsap. Prior to the NBA's trade deadline last month, the trade didn't stop the fines, though, as Wojnarowski and Sherborne pointed out. Let's see. Beginning with Simmons' first paycheck on November 15th, Philadelphia began to claw back the per-game salary of $360,000 for each game Simmons missed this season because Simmons received a $16.5 million advance of his $33 million salary in the offseason. There wasn't enough money in each paycheck to cover the per-game deduction, minus the amount for escrow that was withheld by the NBA. The 76ers had been withholding nearly $1.3 million of Simmons' salary in each of his paychecks. That has continued since the trade to the Nets. Wow. who were made to deduct salary from Simmons' pay to wire to the 76ers, sources said. Because Simmons' last paycheck is on April 30th, the deduction should carry over to the offseason. Once again, Simmons will receive $8.25 million advance on July 1st and October 1st. Man, so and then you got to know it was coming because he's going to want his money and he's going to play the mental health card and all of that stuff to try to get his money. What do you say? He didn't say, "Hey, I didn't say anything about a Kyrie weekly update." No, I would expect you to say Zion after Ben Simmons, because by Zion seemed another person who doesn't play basketball who stays in the news. You say, "What a stupidly sad situation." Yeah, and it's stupid and it's sad. Ben didn't want to play for them anymore, and for good reason. I get it. He felt disrespected, and he was like, "Yo, I don't want to play for y'all no more." And instead of him, when he went to rejoin them, he hit him with the mental health stuff. He should have just been honest from the jump and not hit him with that. Just be honest from the jump. But him saying the mental health stuff, this could be an out, and this could get him his money.
Oh, man, I'm done with Ben Simmons. A man go to a new team, comes up with a back injury, then hadn't played since 20. And now he can't play because of bad back, man. Man, let's talk about somebody else, man.
No, he's my
Ben
God.
Simmons and James Harden is just like, man, they're not what you represent to be the NBA, man. They're just another head case.
Yeah.
Every time I see him on the bench, man, I say, yeah, and he asking for money. He hadn't played. If the if the 76ers give him the money, they ought to just put it in the escrow until he get on the court. So, because every time he sit on the bench, he's stealing money from the Nets.
Yeah.
You know, how can a guy don't play any basketball for however a whole season almost, or whatever it was, at least 9 months or whatever it was, and he comes back, he get traded, joins the team, and got a bad back.
Yeah, out indefinitely, bad back.
How does that happen, man? Come on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that happen? He's got a bad disc in his back. I mean,
yeah. Hey, and they say all this while riding the bench and not producing nothing with the team.
Yeah. He's stealing money. He's stealing money right now, but he wants 20. I want $20 million, but you know, what's the paychecks that he's not playing? I like to know that. How much is whatever he earned per game and he's still collecting. I mean, I think the Nets should be suing him.
Right. Hey, Josh Stewart say Calvin Ridley tried the mental health route too. Calvin Ridley tried that. He did. Come to find out, it was more to that. He say, "Hey, Ben Simmons is like all of us. Get paid millions for doing nothing. What a life."
And then sue for $20 million more. Right. Man, I'm so sick of that. Ben Simmons and that James Harden, man, they like both of them need to get out the league, man. I'm almost to the point that, man, David Stern, he'll just suspend both of them. I mean, we deal with you guys in 24. We're going to suspend you for the rest of the season. You conduct detrimental to the team, man. That's the suspension he would have had the both of them on. Conduct detrimental. You're going to sue the team that you formerly played for, but you hadn't played not 1 minute for your new team. But you want $20 million that you stealing every day not playing. Come on, man. Yeah. Stop putting yourself in the news when you don't have to, man. You should have filed that lawsuit when the season over with. Or at least give me a couple of minutes. He's going to sit the whole playoffs on that bench just like he is. If they play in the night, he's on the bench with his street clothes on, man. No sympathy for this guy, man. None at all.
None.
Don't practice, don't play, but whining about money from the Sixers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another one.
This is another one. This is look at and look, all everybody we talked about. Look, this is another one. No uniform
Yeah, exactly.
on the bench. On the
They got
bench.
their butt whooped. Now this is the guy. Let me before you start. This is the guy who was crying for a trade to
Yeah.
LA. Get not just the crying to get out of the Pelicans and the New Orleans, but go to LA and they get swept. Don't get beat one time in 10 days. Get beat twice in 10 days. And now, what they the 11th seed and probably not going to make the playoff. This guy is soft. Is where's my Charmin? He's soft as Charmin. This guy right here. This is Hollywood that they ain't got no spunk, man. I mean, I'm upset with AD, man. AD's supposed to have been Batman
He's supposed
and
to be that
Robin.
guy. He's supposed to be that guy, man. He is. He's supposed to be that guy.
And to be honest, the championship they won the championship, but they won it in the bubble. It might be an asterisk.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I'll hit the bubble asterisk on that championship, man. Let's see. So Brian Windhorst reported to be a possibility just this week. Says the Los Angeles Lakers will keep their options open to improve the roster in the offseason, which includes potentially trading Anthony Davis, as ESPN's Brian Windhorst predicted Tuesday on Get Up. I think it will be something that's discussed, Windhorst said of Davis' trade. Say Davis remains one of the best big men in the league and absolutely disruptive two-way force. The best ability is availability, as they say, and too often over the past 2 seasons, the former Kentucky standout has found himself on the sideline in street clothes during Lakers games. Could that actually lead to a Davis trade out of Los Angeles? You say unlikely, says Bleacher Report's Jake Fisher. Jake Fisher on a potential Anthony Davis trade, he said, I don't think they will trade him at all. From what I've been told, the fact that they gave up to New Orleans to get him. I mean, the Lakers went all in on pairing Anthony Davis with Bron for as long as that pairing could stand, and I'd be shocked if it came to a close this off season. And I will say the same thing. I don't think they move on from him. I think they give it another go. I don't think they're gonna see that admit a mistake or say this is a mistake and move on, because okay, so let's say you want to trade him. What are the options? How do you get better? Because you want to get better. You don't want to get worse after Anthony Davis. You want to get better. What scenario out there makes them better trading him away? What are you going to get in return that's going to make you better?
Well, I think the Lakers at a point right now, man. They got to make some changes. I mean, they gotta look long term. They gotta look to see if how long much more LeBron is going to play.
That's so stupid.
What do we need as far as draft capital potential of adding a new direction?
Yeah,
I think I to be honest with you though, Brandon, you might disagree. I think the guy should be traded, man. I think
if I can get better, I'm trading him. If I can get something,
I think that's the only thing gonna wake him up. The only thing gonna wake him up is he is not be at the place he wanted to be at, which is where he's at right now. He wanted to be there. They need to put him at a place like Portland or somewhere. He needs to get his soul back. I think he's lost his soul. I think that when I say lost his soul, I think he's lost some of the drive that he had before to get to this all-star, legit, highlight reel type of Anthony Davis. And I think that championship has made him a little bit complacent. And I think that, I think I think he's got to go to a place that's not tropical and sunny and Hollywood and distractions. I think I actually would love to see this guy go back home. I don't know if that would be a distraction. I would love to see him go to the Bulls. I think I don't know why, but I think that would be a good spot for him. Or send him to a place that he don't want to be at. Send him to Toronto or some cold weather, I think Toronto is too good of a place for him to go at, and so is Chicago. He needs to go to a place like Portland.
Hey, send him to the Magic, man.
Oh yeah. Now that might be too good for the Magic.
Right. Hey, Chris said he just wanted to go to LA for the free floor seats. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what it looked like.
That's what it's been.
Hey, and that's AD stands for ain't worth a damn. Ness, come on, Ness. Yeah. Hey, Ness, that's like, I know Ness remember this. Hey, that's like Bernie Mac and Soul Man when he went to go see Samuel Jackson in jail, and they found out he was he had a warrant out for his arrest and was driving on suspended license. He's like, man, forget him. He ain't worth 2 dead flies smashed.
Hey man, you gotta feel like you want that cornbread, man.
Man, the hunger, man, and that's one thing. What I learned coaching when I was coaching is that dog, man.
Yeah,
you can't teach the dog. You can't. You either gotta leave
no dog in him, man. No dog in him. It took him 4 years, his first 4 years, because every time he was go back home to play in Chicago, he'd get injured. So it took him first 4 years of his career, the fourth year of his career, to finally play his first game in Chicago. The guy set out games for a hurt big toe, a sore arch, get hit on the finger, not the shooting hand, the opposite hand.
Yeah.
You know, scratched. I mean, he got set out a couple of games for getting scratched. I mean, I don't know, man.
Hey, Josh Stewart said he fit right in with Jonathan Isaac in the Magic. Yeah.
I said I wasn't gonna rip the Magic, man. You know, hey, that might be the place he need to go at because, hey, the Magic, the only team can have a 12-point lead with 5 minutes to go and lose the game by 8.
Hey, and and think about this: the expectations might be too great because he's coming there as the next big man, and you follow in the footsteps of Dwight Howard and Shaquille O'Neal. Can he live up to that?
Who? AD?
I don't know about that.
Hey, if the Magic have AD, the Magic still won't win more than 14 games. They still won't win more than 4. He still get injured. He'll get injured for anything with the Magic. Hey, he bent his finger shooting the ball in warm-up drills, and he bent his finger back a little bit, and he'll be out. Nah. You need to go play for Chauncey Billups or somebody. Or Detroit. He needs to go up to Detroit and play with Cade Cunningham and them guys.
Detroit is a bad team.
Yeah, that's where he need to go at.
Mm-hmm. You know, hey, he fit in Cleveland. He fit in Cleveland.
Man, Cleveland got too much talent, man. Hell, he may not even start in Cleveland.
Man, Cleveland. They got some nice young guys in Cleveland.
Yeah, man. They not gonna mess that chemistry up. Say no, we got enough 7-footers on this roster. We don't need AD. AD gonna wind up in Indiana or Portland or one of them bad teams, man. And then he's gonna be like totally. It can either do two things. It can motivate him or it's gonna make him worse. He's got to get more driven, man. You asked. Remember this, he asked to be traded. Yeah. He demanded a trade to a bigger market. He won't play for Pop.
That'll be an issue. That's not gonna work. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Him playing for Pop, I don't think it's gonna work.
Yeah, he wouldn't be sitting out those what the load management with Pop, man.
Yeah. No, won't happen.
He's gonna be a Pacer. He's gonna play for the Indiana Pacers, man. At least it'll be a nice arena.
Yeah, because and then you're gonna give up a ton to get him. I mean, that's just.
He can always play for the Rockets.
Until my AD means, oh damn, he hurt again.
Yeah, that's what it means, man. And
Yeah.
AD looks for getting injured. How can I get injured today?
Yeah.
Oh, man, he has not lived up to what we thought he would be, man. That's the sad part of it all, man. This guy, man, it just, I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm disgusted with him.
Yeah, I am. But hey, it is what it is. The Lakers are dumpster fire anyway, so I mean they're not going anywhere. Seeing LeBron basically turned his entire ankle and foot the other night. I mean, I seen the still photo of that, and that was nasty, absolutely nasty. And anytime I hear people talking about LeBron faking injury, I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I can see if you said this about anybody else, not LeBron James.
Did he play last night?
I think he did. He did play last night. Definitely don't send him to OKC. Nah, don't send him to OKC. Do not send him to
Man, that
Oklahoma
might be the
City.
spot. We'll never hear about him again. Man, you go to OKC now, boy, you gonna be that's just like going to
Hey,
play in
hey,
Siberia.
hey, when Giddey comes back from injury, he's gonna be the star anyway. So they're gonna be talking about Josh Giddey anyway.
Man, don't go to OKC, boy. You'll be unknown for the rest of his career.
Yeah, yeah. One of the last things, and then we're gonna get up out of here. So St. Peter's, their head coach is he got hired by
Right.
I think he I'm trying to see now. Let's see, John, what's his name? No, that's the other coach. Let's see, St. Peter's coach hired. See, I forgot who he got hired by, but let me see.
North Carolina up by 2, man.
Yeah, I seen that. Seton Hall. He got hired by Seton Hall, and so that's the downside. Yeah, Josh got it for me. Seton Hall. That's the downside of a team, coming out of nowhere, being a back bracket buster, and going on a magical run in March Madness. They lose their coach. It pretty much happens. It happened with the Florida Gulf Coast head coach when Florida Gulf Coast burst onto the scene. Dunk City, their head coach left. A couple years ago, you remember Virginia Commonwealth, their head
Yeah.
coach Shaka Smart. He got Texas, came in, swooped him up, and of course, I knew St. Peter's coach was going to get hired. It was fast too. Seton Hall said, "Hey, we seen enough. Give him a contract. Let's go." So that's the downside, but much deserved though.
Yeah, I thought it. I guess Seton all okay.
Yeah. Seton Hall's that's a good program, man.
I thought it'd be at a bigger school, but I'm all good.
I thought it would have been a bigger school too. But I don't know if any bigger schools
They're
have
in the
opened.
same. They're in the same area though. I mean, St. Peter's in Jersey City. Where's
Yeah.
Seton Hall? And
Seton
Seton
Hall.
Hall is right across from. It's in New Jersey, so
Yeah, South Orange.
South Orange. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was.
So he didn't go too far.
So he can stay in the same house.
Yeah, he can stay in the same house. Yeah, I see the Duke is up by 1 with a minute 18 left.
Yeah, 74-73.
Let's see. Yeah, Miami got their coach from George Mason. Yeah. Miami got their coach from George Mason. Yeah. But anything else you want to add before we get out of here, Mr. Reid?
Oh no, man! It just they start the off-season program, the Jaguars, on April 11th, and I think you're going to hear a lot more about the stadium issue stuff come up here in the next couple of months. And in the practice facility right now, and all the fields are tore up because of construction to get the new practice facility. So that's going to be an issue during the season.
Oh yeah. I'm excited for the draft to see next steps. Ready for OTAs. Ready to see Trevor because I know he's putting in that work. Been putting in the work in off season. All of those guys probably re-energized and refreshed for a new regime, another opportunity to go out and make a name for themselves. That dark cloud is finally gone. So
Yeah.
let's just move forward. Sunshine is in the building. They just got to keep this good mojo going. Let's see, Lady Gamecocks or Lady Huskies. Man, the Gamecocks got that game, man. I don't know. South Carolina.
I'm
Yeah.
going with the Lady Gamecocks.
Yeah, South Carolina, man. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They got
now college women's basketball. Now I do check in on that from time to time. The WNBA only time is when they got a nice story or someday somebody win it all or a big performance. But women's college basketball, the WNBA needs to take notes from them. They
oh,
just
yeah,
do. They do. They need to take notes from them. Yeah, because their game, it's no reason why the WNBA game should be where it is now. It's been entirely too stagnant for the last decade. They don't market their stars hardly at all. I mean, Brittany Griner should be on everything. You know,
oh,
she's a great player.
right.
Candace Parker, like, and I know they don't want to demean themselves or whatever, and may feel like it's demeaning, and they're ball players, but you need to do what's going to get you that money. And you have players who are appealing. They are very attractive. That needs to be a bit of a selling point because they already do it on their IGs, on Instagram and stuff like that. So they already sell sex. So the WNBA kind of going that route too to help it out. Yeah, you want to bring more eyes to it. The object is to get more money, correct?
Yep,
So
that's it.
yeah, there's so many things that they can do, but that their management, commissioner or whoever, they're fumbling it right now.
Yeah, they gotta really look in the mirror and try to get. I just can't understand what they're talking about by Griner. Oh, we're not allowed to speak about it or something. I heard somebody say.
Yeah,
That's it.
Lisa Leslie. Mm-hmm.
That's like the worst thing that they can do as a league, and they fumble the ball a lot, man. So let's just hope that they can get their league in order
Yeah,
and try to have, you got to support your players. Anybody could be in that situation that she's in right now,
any of them.
and
Yeah,
not to be restricted to show support for somebody that means so much to your league. She
yeah,
remember that. That means when she comes back to the U.S., that's something that she remember it.
yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So, but man, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week. I'm sure there'll be more to talk about. Oh, and then when is the because it's 75-74 with 46 seconds left. So by the time we come back, the final four will be played. We'll be crowned the champion in the men's and the women's. So, we'll talk a bit about that. You'll have plenty Jaguar news, plenty NBA news. I'm sure James Harden, Ben Simmons, or Zion Williamson will do something that's going to get people talking. So we'll have plenty of talking points, man. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all of my social medias. See down here on the ticker at the bottom. Follow Mr. Reid on Twitter, Jacksonville.com, Florida Times-Union, man. Appreciate you, Mr. Reid.
Appreciate it, North Carolina.
Okay, hey, I see it. I see it. Yeah, 78-74. Yeah, it looked like it's a wrap. I know Josh Stewart probably dancing right now.
Yeah, it's
But
the
man,
reason why I wore this blue jacket tonight.
hey, there it is. There it is. You see, Brandon, call me down. Oh, for sure. I'll give you a call. And let me say Devontae Parker to the Pats. Yeah, I did see Devontae Parker to the Pats. And I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I understand Jacksonville want to draft the guy, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know if Devontae Parker is somebody I would have put out assets to go get. Maybe it's too many guys who were available. We didn't have to give nothing up to go get, but going to trade assets for Devontae Parker, I don't care how small the assets are. I don't know about that.
I'm trying to figure out what is the Dolphins thinking? Trading a guy in your own division?
Yeah.
That don't make any sense to me. You got to play this guy twice
Yeah.
in your conference.
And I watched Devontae Parker take Stephon Gilmore, who was regarded as probably a top 3 corner easily. Some may think he was the best corner in the league at the time. He took him to school.
Oh, yeah.
So the guy can play. The guy can play. So that was interesting. That was interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, Josh. Man, until next time, we are out of here. I'll see y'all next week, man. Peace out.
Peace.